Free community college, helping pay for childcare and affordable housing. The two measures are stalled in Congress as progressives say they'll vote for the small bill if they get assurances on the bigger bill.
Fox's Jill Nato. All Republicans oppose that bigger bill, spending trillions of dollars. And GOP Senate Leader Mitch McConnell also refuses to help Democrats raise the debt limit, which the U.S. will hit this month.
They just want a bipartisan shortcut around procedural hurdles they can actually clear on their own.
The president says
the Republicans in Congress, what they're doing today is so reckless and dangerous.
The day after an hours-long Facebook outage, the social media giant blamed on network router issues. A Senate hearing will probe the company and its issues.
Before she left Facebook in May, product manager Frances Haugen secretly made copies of tens of thousands of documents. She revealed her identity on 60 Minutes as the whistleblower behind the Wall Street Journal's bombshell investigation into Facebook's knowledge of the harm done to its users.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. The Catholic Church sex abuse scandal has hit France. Fox's Simon Owen explains live.
Dave, investigators say an estimated 330,000 children have been sexually abused in the French Catholic Church over the past 70 years. Jean-Marc Sauvé, the lead investigator in a commission established by Catholic bishops,
une indifférence totale.
Said the abuse was systemic and that the church showed cruel indifference. The head of the French Bishops' Conference says he's ashamed and asks for forgiveness. Dave?
Simon, a Japanese-American meteorologist, sharing the Nobel Prize for Physics with two other scientists for their work on climate change. America's listening to Fox News.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:03. Robinson saves you time. 58 our current temperature in Columbia. We're expecting a sunny day today with a chance of showers in the late afternoon. Our high 73. Mostly cloudy tonight. Low near 60. Again, 58 here in Columbia, 57 in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. A convicted Columbia triple killer is set to be executed tonight in Southeast Missouri's Bond Tear, barring intervention from the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal judge. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson has rejected Ernest Lee Johnson's clemency request. The governor says 3 juries have reviewed the case and recommended a death sentence. Johnson, convicted of killing 3 people with a hammer at a now-closed Columbia Casey's in February 1994. That store has since been torn down. The 3 victims, Mary Bratcher, Mabel Scruggs, and Fred Jones. 2 Missouri U.S. House Democrats, Emanuel Cleaver of Kansas City and St. Louis's Corey Bush, both called on the governor to stay the execution. Pope Francis as well. Again, the governor rejecting that, saying that Johnson took a lot of time to make his decision in this case. We'll have more on what the governor said coming up at 6:30 this morning. Meantime, a woman accused of breaking into a Jefferson City church this summer and setting a cross on fire is jailed without bond this morning. A Cole County judge describes Anne Marie Mullins as a flight risk. ABC 17 News reports Mullins allegedly broke into the Christian Fellowship Church in Jefferson City on May 31st and then stole money and set the cross on fire. She was arraigned on Monday via video in Cole County Circuit Court, and she has pleaded not guilty. While Missouri House Republicans hold a supermajority plus with 113 seats, they approved education savings account school choice legislation with the bare minimum of 82 votes. Former Missouri Republican Party Executive Director Gene Evans tells Wake Up Columbia about 30 House Republicans voted against ESA because of their hometown school superintendents.
The ESA bill that was passed says if a student leaves to take advantage of this program, the school will continue to receive the money they were receiving for that student from the state for another 5 years. So they're going to get money for a student that's not even there.
Under the new Missouri law, students applying for the ESA grant must live in a city with at least 30,000 residents. Evans wants to see that expanded, saying education money should follow the student in Missouri, not the other way around. More than 2,000 Columbia area residents have signed a petition asking the city to appoint a committee to develop a conservation overlay to protect natural features around Rockbridge Memorial State Park if and when they are annexed into the city. They're talking about neighborhoods around the state park. Jan Weaver testifying before Columbia City Council Monday night. She describes the park as an important natural, recreational, educational, and economic asset to Columbia. Proposal supporters say the park deserves the special protection. A reminder, Fifth Ward Councilman Matt Pitzer will join us live. It's 7:35, right around 7:35 on Wake Up Columbia. Speaking of the council, they also discussed ARPA money last night. Columbia will be receiving another $12.5 million in funding from ARPA at a later date. Right now, the city has received $12.6 million. And a lot of discussion last night about the winter weather and the Wabash Overnight Center. The Human Rights Commission wants the city to implement a temporary increase in the cutoff temperature for the emergency center from 9 degrees Fahrenheit to 18 degrees. The commission presenting their report to the council last night, they say the modest increase is warranted to respect the dignity of our fellow citizens who live without permanent shelter. The commission also says a permanent homeless shelter in Columbia will not happen for another few years. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you on this Tuesday morning by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all your heating needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. In sports, former Mizzou and Hickman star Jaden Cox earning a bronze medal United World Wrestling Championship going on in Norway. The Columbia Missourian reports Jaden Cox won the tournament's first 3 matches. Fell just short in the semifinals. He won the bronze medal match 11-0. Baseball, the Cardinals play the Dodgers tomorrow night. Dodger Stadium, National League wild card game. That game will start our time 7:10. You'll hear it live right here, 93.9 The Eagle. Dodgers trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series titles since the Yankees, 1998 to 2000. Adam Wainwright pitching for St. Louis tomorrow night. 17 wins, ERA of 3.05. He leads the majors in complete games. Again, 7:10 tomorrow night. 93.9 The Eagle Sports, presented by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. Nate, thank you. Weather brought to you by Club Car Wash, clubcarwash.com. Find a location near you. 58 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
608 93.9 The Eagle Traffic Check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. We're not seeing anything right now to report on the roads or hearing anything right now. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
We're asking that the governor grant him clemency and let him finish out his natural life in prison.
Our ask is for commutation to life without parole. So we're not saying that he's not culpable for the murders that happened in 1994. We're very sad for those losses, and we understand it impacted the community in Columbia and the whole state very, very gravely.
Folks asking Governor Mike Parson for some leniency, at the very least, spare the life of Ernest Lee Johnson, who back in 1994 went to a gas station and brutally murdered 3 people. And short of a discussion regarding opinions on the death penalty, I have no moral disagreements with the death penalty. I don't. It is much cheaper to keep somebody in prison for the rest of their life as opposed to the death penalty for financial reasons. I say, yeah, let's get rid of the death penalty. Far cheaper to keep somebody in prison for the rest of their life as opposed to the death penalty. Morally, I see no issue with it. But I want to move in a little bit of a different direction this morning on this same topic. We're going to get an opportunity to hear from a point of view we seldomly get to hear about. But first, I want to go back to the comments. This lady saying, hey, we just want his life spared. We're not saying, listen, we get the gravity of what happened and what he is convicted of doing. He killed 3 people with a hammer and a screwdriver. Randy Boehm, former Columbia police officer and chief who responded at the time, talking to our news partners at ABC 17, and does kind of talk a little bit, okay, besides the folks that were murdered, you had 3 people that were murdered. You had family members of those 3 people. And he talked about what was happening in the city of Columbia at the time.
Notice in the police world is that we have a real increase in calls of suspicious activity and that sort of thing after something like that occurs, because people are concerned and they're watching everything, and something that may have not caused any fear before that, now it does.
So the whole community in fear. Everything was suspicious. We had this guy that brutally murdered 3 people. I want to go in a different direction right now, though. Brian Hauswirth, who's been in local news for a lot of years here in mid-Missouri, used to work for the Department of Corrections, has how many executions have you witnessed?
You know, I've reported all these years. I've reported on dozens, probably as many as 40, maybe 45, but actually to witness just one. And the time that I spent, and I served at the Department of Corrections as chief spokesman for about I was there from 2006 to 2008. There were 0 because when I was there, literally the day I started, this whole thing that we're really talking about now, which is about lethal injection, that was just starting. Before that, they were doing about 9 or 10 a year at that time.
By the way, John wants to explain how a life lived out in prison is cheaper than the death penalty. The biggest cost with death penalty, appeals. There's your answer. So when you learned that you were going to be covering an execution as a reporter, and I want you to be as honest as you can.
Sure.
What was it like when you got that assignment? Were you like, what was your reaction?
And keep in mind, I had been spokesman, and I was prepared to be there, and I was there for a couple of different nights when I worked at the DOC, Branden, and it was Michael Taylor's case. Actually, it was the first day on the job I ever started at the DOC. I got sent within an hour. I was in training and got sent to go. That's the training, so I barely could get anything started and went down there. Then that ended up being blocked. So there were no executions carried out. The one I covered as a reporter was would have been January of 2017. His name was Mark Christensen. It was a mid-Missouri case, Marys County, Vichy. It was a mother and her 2 children that were brutally murdered. Their throats had been cut. They were beaten and ended up being drowned in a lake down in Vichy. So I was sent to cover the execution, and basically I can tell you a little bit about how it will work and things like that.
What was, do you remember, if you care to share, if you don't want to, that's fine, but like when you got that assignment, were you like, I'm going to go witness an execution? What was...
Yeah, it was part of the job. When they hired me at the Missouri Net, we were told that we had to cut, and it's not something that I want to do. It's not. I don't think it's something anybody wants to do, but you just put in. It wasn't pleasant to watch. We can talk about it. I didn't see anything. I didn't see any. I got called by the Attorney General's office afterwards, and they do a follow-up to make sure you don't see anything like the inmate in pain, stuff like that. But it was one thing that, it was hard because you're in a room and they take you down there, and then you have all these appeals going on. So you could technically be down there for 24 hours. And that's what happened with me when I was with the DOC. I ended up being down there for 2 days. The one I covered was actually carried out pretty quickly. But you're sitting in a room, they take you down, and you can't see anything. You're in a room about this size that we're in right now. And instead of that eagle sign behind you, it's basically curtains, and you can't see anything. It's completely dark. And then when they do open the curtains, you see the inmate in front of you strapped down to a gurney. And in this case, it was Mark Christensen.
So then how does the process work? So you're there, and you've set the scene. You're getting ready to witness something that you've never seen professionally. It is part of your duty.
Right.
A lot of people in the room, not sure exactly because appeals, last minute, maybe a change of heart by the governor. So then what happens?
Well, the governor in that case was Eric Greitens, and there were requests to him to step in, but there were also people from the community that wanted Mark Christian. It was a terrible case there. There were actually 2 murders. One testified against the other. But the room was small. I was sitting in a room with a newspaper reporter from Marys County at that time. They were still doing a weekly paper in Vichy. I don't know that they still are. She'd been someone who actually covered the triple homicide. It was the Marys County Sheriff, Chris Heitman, who was 2 seats away from me. And he was in there. There were police officers from I believe it was Vichy. I also believe that there were Marys County deputies, and there may have been an FBI agent there as well. I'm almost sure there was, because they captured the suspects in California. So, and you couldn't bring pen or paper in there. So I was just trying to observe, be professional, and just describe later for what I observed. And basically when the curtains opened, the inmate is strapped down to a gurney, and you see him. He is right in front of you. When Ernest Johnson tonight, and this is going to be the same thing, he'll be lying on a gurney. The reporters and the police officers will be to his right. They're in the room right to his right. If he has family or supporters, ministers, in this case, he may have the NAACP. They support him. I don't know who's going to be there representing him. They will be to his left, and he will know that ahead of time. And then straight ahead, he won't be able to actually see them, the victims' families. In this case tonight, if it's Mabel Scruggs or Fred Jones, the victims' families, if they choose to go, they're certainly welcome. They will be straight ahead. Now, they will be able to see him. He won't be able to see them, is my understanding. But the inmate was strapped to a gurney. This was, again, 2017 process, very quick. There's 3 basically drugs that are administered. And what I observed on Mark Christensen, I couldn't take notes, so I had to do it, and I have a good memory. I just remembered everything as best I could. He looked over to us, I looked at me, and he actually looked over at me and the sheriff, but I think he was thinking that was his family. He immediately looked over to his left, and that's where his family was. There was a lady and a gentleman to his left. I don't know who they were, and they obviously his family. He mouthed, "I love you." He mouthed, "I love you" twice. That was the only thing I saw him mouth, and within seconds, his eyes closed, and he was unconscious, and he was pronounced dead pretty quickly. It was probably 3-4 minutes, I would guess.
When he looked at you, did you guys make eye contact?
He looked, keep in mind, it's a small room. It was I really think he was looking to, because you're confused in there and the curtains open up. When I say he looked, he did look at me, but he could have been looking at the newspaper reporter, but he was I think it was very quickly the sheriff. Yes, I made eye contact with him. It was very brief. I think he was looking for his family, because he immediately turned his head. It is confusing in there, and the lights are very bright too, kind of like this. And then he turned over to his left, tried to lift his head, and he lifted his head as best he could, and I remember him mouthing, I love you. I love you. And I told Jim Salter was a couple seats away from me from the AP, and I saw him outside. I said, it's hard to read lips. I said, "Jim, it looked to me like he said, 'I love you' twice," and Jim thought the same thing. So we reported it. No doubt in my mind that's what he said.
So that all seemed to happen pretty quickly. Can you describe then following that, what happened? Did you sit there for a while? Was there an orderly procession out of that room, or?
Well, and that's a great question, Stephanie. And in some cases, and nothing when I work there, or in this case, You could have potentially where witnesses, family members, it could be heated outside. Years and years ago, I was told a story where a victim's family member and the murderer's family members were actually at the same hotel. It was very awkward. I understand there was, some tension. That's years and years ago. The Department of Corrections, basically, it's locked down like a fortress. No one can get in there. It's the Highway Patrol, basically the SWAT team. They have a team, I believe it's called CERT, but no one can get anywhere even near that prison. So security is very tight. You have to be approved to even get in. The victim's family will be straight ahead, and they will be led out. I'm not sure who goes out first, what the process is, but it's basically the murderer's family and the victim's family are led out separately. They go out different exits, and they are led to their vehicles and escorted until they leave the premises by the staff and the deputies. There were no altercations at anything I experienced. And then their reporters and the police officers, in this case, the sheriff of Marys County, we went to a press briefing, and then they briefed the press afterwards about what happened.
Brian Hauswirth, news director for the Zimmer radio group, Wake Up Columbia, this morning, talking about his experience in having witnessed an execution. Ernest Lee Johnson, convicted of killing 3 people in Columbia back in the 90s, scheduled to be executed today. Governor Parsons saying, listen, this was a verdict delivered by the jury. It's been through the courts, and we're going to move forward with this. Is it something you still think about to this day, having witnessed it?
Yeah. And again, I tried to be as professional as possible, and always have. And I wanted to describe, because we were talking about an inmate, and we had to talk about the victims too. I mean, in this case, there was no question what Mark Christensen did. It's similar to this in that no one's saying Ernest Johnson is innocent. It's not even debatable. So you have to describe what he did. You have to include the victims' names, but yet we also have to report, what the supporters say. The Pope is talking about his humanity. But yeah, I do think about it, and then I also had to put together a story pretty quickly for the affiliates. I remember that. And the press briefing was very short. There wasn't much they could say because I had observed everything. And my timing may be a little off. I'm saying a couple minutes. That's what I didn't have a watch, but that's what I recall there very quickly. But in some cases, the courts get involved, and it could take hours and hours. But yes, I do think about that.
Governor Parson sent us a press release. Mr. Johnson's claim that he is not competent to be executed has been reviewed and rejected by a jury and the courts 6 different times. Brian Hauswirth sharing his experience in having witnessed an execution. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's...
Happy to do it, but it is our job, and I appreciate it. And that was the only one that I did observe. Mark Christensen, 2017.
Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer. I am Branden Rathert. This is Wake Up Columbia. Moving forward, we're going to get into the day's daily D.C. rundown. What do you have for us this morning, Steph?
Well, we're hearing a lot about Roe v. Wade because of the upcoming Supreme Court term.
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room with microphones.
Every major policy, when you look at anything from his energy policy to spending and passing his agenda, he's just come up short. And for Joe Biden to point fingers at Republicans again is just wrong.
Representative James Comer with a very polite and 15-second version of saying Joe Biden's leadership skills suck. That gets us into today's Daily DC Rundown.
Last week, he canceled a trip to help out in D.C. It went very south. So now they said, hey, you know what? Why don't you take a little trip? So he's on the road. I guess today he will be visiting Michigan in Representative Elise Slotkin's district. And she's kind of on the moderate side. And she had some interesting comments. She basically said, I don't understand why they're trying to tie these two things together. She said that's not how we normally operate. And I thought that was interesting because I think a lot about the Biden administration is not how we normally operate. And the really progressive Democrats, as we know, have been trying to change the rules, stuff immigration into the reconciliation bill, stuff this new the new tax and the new retirement plan into this reconciliation bill. And even the their own parliamentarian has had to say on immigration, nope, that's beyond what we're allowed to do here.
It's like this, like if you're married, you and your spouse, you guys are trying to do this diet thing together, and one of y'all, tuck some combos stuffed with cheese under the seat cushions in the couch because you're hiding it because ain't nobody gonna be happy.
Yeah. So also on the road is Secretary of State Blinken. He is over in Paris trying to do damage control, right? So that relationship has gone south very quickly under the Biden administration, especially over the last several weeks. And so he is over there trying to mend the relationship.
Am I wrong to think that it's hilarious and sad that we've upset France?
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Not a good look.
It's not a good look. And so, on abortion. So the case is going to the Supreme Court. A lot of people are watching that, but do keep your eye on. Biden has lifted a Trump-era restriction. That restriction, of course, barred certain clinics from referring patients out to abortion providers. Biden is undoing that.
And that, by the way, one of the things we didn't have time because we're running behind this morning. One of the things I'd like to get into this morning, apparently Department of if you go to school board meetings and get loud and passionate about the education of your kids, DOJ wants to put a stop to that. We'll get into that later this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle. So Biden is going to be a snake oil salesman today. Fox will have more on what Stephanie was just talking about. Then Brian Hauswirth is here. Local iconic business gets the go-ahead to get bigger. Then Missouri-based political consultant Christopher Arps is going to be joining us here on 93.9 The Eagle. I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. So partly sunny today. There's a chance of showers, probably after lunchtime, high 73, and those look to be just kind of here and there. Then tonight, some clouds and 60. Tomorrow, showers are likely. Tomorrow's high is going to be 72. Thursday, another chance of showers, high 76. Mid-80s when we get into the weekend. The big homecoming weekend. It's 59. Stop by Club Car Wash. Get an unlimited membership. $20 a month. Get more details on these unlimited memberships. ClubCarWash.com.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. President Biden will be out today promoting a bipartisan infrastructure plan and his big social spending plan called Build Back Better. What's in that is still being negotiated. Some moderate Democrats say it's too expensive.
The president's taking Build Back Better on the road with the sales pitch directly to the American people today in Howell, Michigan. This as the country barrels towards a historic default on the debt ceiling before an October 18th deadline, which would threaten to lower the country's credit rating and raise inflation, as even a Democrat go-it-alone path seems unlikely at the moment.
Fox's Griff Jenkins. An oil spill in Southern California is spreading.
And likely continuing to move in a southerly direction based on the wind and the weather and the currents.
Coast Guard Captain Rebecca Orr says a ship's anchor may have pierced a pipeline off the coast of Huntington Beach. That's under investigation. Beaches are closed. Oil-covered fish and birds are washing up dead on shore. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson's saves you time. Brian Hauswirth is my name. Our current temperature in Columbia is 58 degrees. We're expecting sunny conditions. Today's high around 73. Mostly cloudy tonight, a low near 60. And tomorrow, showers are likely with a high of 72 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Barring intervention from the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal judge, a convicted Columbia triple killer will be executed tonight in southeast Missouri's Bonne Terre. Missouri Governor Mike Parson denying a clemency request from 61-year-old Ernest Lee Johnson. He killed 3 people with a hammer in 1994 in a now-closed Casey's convenience store here in Columbia. That was on Ballinger Lane, not far from Clark Lane. The 3 victims, Mary Bratcher, Mabel Scruggs, Fred Jones. One of the victims also shot. The governor says 3 juries have reviewed the case, recommended death. Pope Francis has called on the governor to block the execution, citing his humanity and the sacredness of all human life. Meantime, a Cole County judge says a woman who allegedly broke into a Jefferson City church this summer and set a cross on fire is a flight risk, and he has ordered her jailed without bond. ABC 17 News reports Anna Marie Mullins is accused of breaking into the Christian Fellowship Church on May 31st, then stealing money and setting a cross on fire. KMIZ reports Jefferson City Police found fingerprints at the scene. They sent those to the Highway Patrol's crime lab. Some Centralia residents are demanding answers on why the former police chief Robert Bias resigned last week. ABC 17 News reports residents protested near City Hall. On Monday, they carried signs. The signs read, "Reinstate Bob Bias." The Board of Aldermen in Centralia will be meeting next week. This issue is expected to come up. A former state lawmaker who now heads the Missouri Federation for Children wants state lawmakers to expand school choice. Manchester Republican Gene Evans tells 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia that education money should follow the student.
And in Missouri, our culture says you go to your local school, but it's interesting because no one thinks, oh, I can only go to the restaurant that's in my neighborhood. I can never venture out beyond this neighborhood or subdivision and go to another restaurant.
Governor Mike Parson has signed a bill creating a $25 million education savings account program. It's known as ESA. Supporters call it school choice. To be eligible, students must live in a city with at least 30,000 residents. Columbia City Council gives the green light to Logboat Brewery's expansion plans. The council approving multiple rezoning requests from Logboat for its facility on Fay. Logboat wants to expand its production facility tasting room as well. Fifth Ward Councilman Matt Pitzer will join us live 7:35. Wake Up Columbia. And Columbia's Human Rights Commission is recommending that the city implement a temporary increase in the cutoff temperature for the emergency Wabash Overnight Center from 9 degrees to 18 degrees Fahrenheit for the upcoming winter. The commission chair, Amanda Hinnant, has presented a report to the council. It says if the threshold were 18 degrees instead of 9 last winter, the center would have been available an additional 7 nights, 1 in December, 2 January, and 4 in February. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you on this Tuesday morning by Mid-America Mortgage. Check out midamericamortgage.us and apply for a loan now on your dream home. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:35. In sports, former Mizzou and Hickman star Jaden Cox earning a bronze medal at the United World Wrestling Championship in Norway. The Columbia Missourian reports Cox won the tournament's first 3 matches, then fell just short in the semifinal. He won the bronze medal match 11-0. Cardinals playing the Dodgers National League wild card game. That one will take place tomorrow night. No baseball tonight. Tomorrow night, 7:10 our time. Catch all the action right here on 93.9 The Eagle. What a pitching matchup we're going to see. Adam Wainwright on the mound for St. Louis. He'll take on former Mizzou Tiger star Max Scherzer, who was traded this year from Washington to the Dodgers. That game again 7:10 tomorrow night. 93.9 The Eagle Sports is presented by Wendy Sprouse Agency. Reach out to Wendy Sprouse, the Medicare nerd, WendySprouseAgency.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Roads are pretty quiet right now, but if you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Hi, I'm Becky Arps, and I am so excited that you get to experience a bit of the thoughts I hear every single day. Enjoy.
Missouri-based political consultant. He writes for redstate.com. He has a website, ChristopherArps.com, because people value his opinion when it comes to Missouri politics. And he has his own radio show now, afternoon radio show in St. Louis. Christopher Arps joining us on the show this morning. Coming up at 8:10, Stephanie and I are going to be going through some Missouri poll numbers, although not directly getting into thoughts on the 2022 U.S. Senate race. There are a couple of key questions that we want to get the results to at 8:10. What's your opinion of Donald Trump? What is your opinion of Eric Greitens? And what is your opinion of Governor Mike Parson outside of the 2022 U.S. Senate race? We'll have those at 8:10. Have you seen some of these numbers, Christopher?
I have not. I saw you. You texted me earlier, so you're gonna surprise me too.
Well, and that's kind of, and I don't know that I'm surprised when I look at the numbers. I'm like, yeah, that's what I would expect that people think of Eric Greitens. That's what I expect people would think of Donald Trump, Governor Parson, and even they asked of Missouri voters, what is your opinion of Mitch McConnell? We'll have that at 8:10 this morning.
You know what? You just reminded me. Yeah. I did get an email on it yesterday, but I didn't read it. But, yeah, now I do remember a poll that come out. Hey, let's talk about something important.
Yes.
How did you survive the great Facebook blackout yesterday? Did you have anxiety? Did you have to, go run? How did you handle that?
I've already been thinking about this, Christopher, because I know one day I'm going to be sitting with Ryder or Harper Lee or Liam and say, oh, Harper Lee, it was the great Facebook shutdown of 2021, and I don't know how I managed to survive, but, man, I made it through, and I'm a stronger person because of it. It didn't affect me. Life doesn't happen on Facebook, is my opinion. How did you survive?
For me, Facebook, about 90% of it is promoting myself and business and things of that nature. Just to be honest. And the other 10% is, family and friends and all that. Facebook, for me, is just a vehicle to promote what I'm doing politically and all of that. So I don't really if I get frustrated, it's because, oh, man, I got this article I want to, post on my page, and now Facebook is down. Darn it. But other than that, I was okay.
Well, it made me realize how few people's phone numbers I actually have, because I do use Facebook Messenger a lot just to say hey, mainly for extracurriculars, maybe for the show, hey, do you want to come on the show or whatever. And so I was really frustrated. It's something that, I use frequently and have gotten accustomed to. And yeah, it was a crazy reminder of just how much you do turn to it for certain activities.
Hannah's awfully salty this morning. Is it because of the Facebook outage?
That was rough yesterday because it wasn't just Facebook, it was Instagram too.
And I think Zoom had issues.
I was very bored. I was bored. Yeah. I got off work and didn't have anything to do, so I just took a nap.
Well, and I know a lot of other programs they say, do you want to use Facebook to log in? So a bunch of other websites. Right. And they said even that was kind of having issues. So it was pretty far reaching.
So, Chris, do you think with that interview Sunday night, do you think, and I'm going to go a little conspiracy theory here, it is really odd you had the former employee of Facebook, Ms. Haugen, on 60 Minutes the other night, and then testifying in D.C. on what she perceives to be the ills of Facebook. It just seems odd. They have the biggest, longest outage ever after that interview took place.
We talked about this on the radio show yesterday. I didn't think it was a coincidence at all. I think it was a hacker group that said that Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, all these properties that you own, you have too much power. And we're going to show you that we can shut you down if we want to. And then reports did come out later in the show that they suspected one of the international hacker groups took them down. So that's my guess. I think it was just a hacker group trying to show them who really has the power.
Christopher Arps joining us here on Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer, Brian Hauswirth. My name is Branden Rathert.
One of my favorite tweets from yesterday was, so say hypothetically you were drinking a diet soda and you hypothetically spilled it on some in the server room, and say hypothetically things are going really wrong, like hypothetically asking for a friend, what should I do? But I don't know for sure, and I haven't seen any confirmations of what caused the outage. We have some friends of the show who talk about hacking, so if it does come out that was it, hopefully we can share more with the listeners about who was responsible or what we know about that.
That's the theory that I'm going with. And before we go further, I want to thank you, Stephanie, for joining me on my show last week. You were in town for a conference, and it was close enough for you to walk to the studio, and we got to spend a half hour with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was awesome.
And you helped extend the Cardinals' winning streak, so fantastic.
I did. I witnessed history. It was very exciting. You guys said bring home a win, and I was actually nervous at the game. I was like, I don't want to be the bad luck.
Hey, before we get in, we're going to do some of these poll numbers coming up at 8:10 this morning.
Yeah.
Again, we're a little less than a year out from primaries. Mm-hmm. In your mind, any movement in the 2022 U.S. Senate race? Our Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, Attorney General Eric Schmidt, Eric Greitens, Mark McCloskey. Anything changed?
Here's the movement that I have seen. There was a poll came out a couple of weeks ago. A.G. Schmidt was ahead by 1 point. Greitens had slipped a point. We had Mark McCloskey on our radio show a couple of weeks ago. Rumors are he has changed his campaign staff, and he has improved dramatically on answering questions that you pose to him. Usually before he was just, reciting kind of talking points. But someone has gotten to him and has given him a briefing book, and he is really bowing up on the issues. So I've been really impressed with his campaign.
But is he still wearing the polo shirt?
You know what? I don't know. He hasn't had any public events that I've seen with pictures, so I don't know if he's took Brandon's advice or not.
Did we play the audio for you? Where I did ask him about.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I haven't. Let's do this. Can you hang out with us some more? Yeah. I want to talk some more about this race, and we'll highlight the audio. Chris and I made a bet regarding me because Mark McCloskey, he wears those obnoxious polo shirts. The obnoxious. If you're watching. So now, if
it's red, white, and blue, Mark.
If you're
Brandon.
Well, here's what. If you're watching on Facebook this morning on the YouTube channel, I'm wearing a polo. It's not the Mark McCloskey polo, so I gotta give some leeway here.
It doesn't have the 10-inch polo man on it?
It doesn't like that dude's just gonna clobber you in the eyeball with that thing. And we did ask him about it here on the show, kind of on a dare from Chris Arps. We'll talk more about that. Chris Arps, ChristopherArps.com. We'll continue our visit with him, get some thoughts on some of this stuff as it relates to the 2022 U.S. Senate race. We'll do that at
This show includes language and our cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some listeners. But not you. You get it. Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, I will tell you this. We've got our Dolment of the day coming up, 6:57. Dumb people in the news doing dumb things. Sometimes just some real interesting stories. I will tell you this. Hannah and Stephanie are going to love today's Dolment of the day. What a way to make a living. We have that. Fox News is here. Biden becomes a snake oil salesman today. He's out on the road. Where is he going to be? Fox has that story coming up at 7 o'clock. And then folks asking Governor Parson to spare the life of Ernest Lee Johnson. The governor's response, Brian has that at 7:03. Christopher Arps from 93.9, from ChristopherArps.com. Christopher
You hiring me?
Well, I would love it. I was honored, absolutely honored when you came in and did our show one time, and would love for that to happen again. I know folks really loved having you here on the show.
You work too early.
I know. And then you should see it days after a city council meeting. Like last night, we had a city council meeting. City Councilman Matt Pitzer is here at 7:35. I come in extra early so I can grab audio from the city's website. So it's an extra early morning.
Isn't that Hannah's job?
No, that's fun. You know what's been interesting is Stephanie visiting you guys in St. Louis and Hannah chatting. You know, Hannah's well connected with radio producers across the state of Missouri, and Hannah's like, man, these producers they get the host's audio, they play the host audio.
I'm not jealous.
She's not jealous. I do all that, and it's funny because when people that have hosted other radio shows, they come in and do my show, they're like, so who gets my audio? Who plays it? I'm like,
exactly.
You. And the answer to the second question is you.
And then that's when I learned I had to also push buttons, too. I'm like, oh, my God, I got to talk and push buttons at the same time? I can't do that.
I got to say that on occasions over the years when and there's reasons that I like to do. It's just more, if there's a mistake, it's on me. Yeah, and it's on me, and I don't want to have to take it out on a producer, and it's control. It's my baby.
It's control.
Yeah, it is absolutely control. So right now, do you think anybody is controlling this U.S. Senate race out of Missouri? I know it's early. The Greitens, Schmidt, Hartzler, any person?
I think right now you'd have to say the momentum is with A.G. Schmidt. He has raised the most amount of money in a Senate race for a quarter. I think it was $1 million. He has taken a slight lead in this race. He's the Attorney General, so that position always gives him the opportunity to have press releases or talk about what he's doing for the state. So right now I'd have to say that A.G. Schmidt has the momentum, but I would not count out Billy Long or Hartzler or any other contenders.
I'll tell you,
not
Billy.
Even Greitens.
Yeah, Billy Long. If you get a chance when he talks or makes an appearance here in mid-Missouri, you need to go, and you may need to meet all these candidates personally. I believe there's a lot to be said on the personal vibes you get from some of these people. And I have the audio of Mark McCloskey.
Yes.
I offered him a campaign suggestion. I want to do that here. And this was something that Christopher and I had talked about. Incidentally, I want to backtrack a little bit. The death of former lawmaker, Todd Aiken, the infamous legitimate rape comments. And we talked about how Claire McCaskill, she dumped money into his campaign. That's who she wanted to face in the general. So we got to thinking, so right now there are Democrats this morning even thinking about, okay, which of the Republicans do we want to put forward? And I say it's Greitens or McCloskey. That's who a Democrat would want to put forward in the general. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I will not be surprised if I see Democrats running ads saying that Eric Greitens is the most Trumpian candidate for Senate.
But
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
You think they'd run ads that would be positive for them in the primary? Say, Greitens is the guy. They put money into that.
Oh, I do, because I think out of all five candidates, I think Greitens is the weakest, unfortunately. It's not personal. But I just think that women voters on Democrat, Republican, moderate, I just don't think that they will pull the trigger for him.
Have you talked to the group Women for Greitens?
There's such a group. That group exists?
No. No. All right.
Yeah, give me their contact information. I'd love to have them on.
So one of the things we talk about with Mark McCloskey, he's a fun candidate. He's fun. But Arps telling us moments ago here on 93.9 The Eagle, he's got a new staff, and he's kind of tightening up, potentially taking this seriously. And I will trace it back to something that happened about a month ago that happened right here. We're shaping campaigns, Chris. That happened right here on Wake Up Columbia. When you're campaigning, and I've noticed this every time I see you, you're wearing a polo shirt, much like I'm wearing this morning, incidentally. But you wear it you do the big giant polo. It looks silly, man.
It's just symbolism, man. It's me driving the ball forward by swinging a big stick. Okay.
So I asked him, Chris, I think that's a steak dinner you owe me.
Oh, my God, you really did say that.
But what did you think of his answer, though? It's driving a big stick, pushing the ball forward. That was a good answer, incidentally.
Well, besides, you took him aback there for a little bit. He didn't know what to say. I think it was a pretty good comeback.
Thought it was a good answer.
I'd be curious to see if he wears that at any more campaign events. But it is getting cooler, so maybe he can say, that's a summer shirt, and that's why he's not wearing it.
If you see Mark McCloskey on the TV and he's not wearing the polo shirts with the big, obnoxious polo, no, that was born out of Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle in Columbia, Missouri. Christopher Arps, ChristopherArps.com. You can see him on Newsmax all the time. He writes for Red State. As a matter of fact, one of your colleagues from RedState.com, Jennifer Van Laar, joins us 8:35 this morning.
Huge story.
Yeah, an iconic photo of the very last troop to board a plane in Afghanistan and come home. I mean, we talked about it here on the show, and just, man, what a magnificent photo. May not be all that it's cracked up to be. She's here at 8:35 with the story here on 93.9 The Eagle. Chris, we love you. Give Becky our love, too.
We will. You guys have a great week.
It's time for the Adultment of the Day on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
Your Adultment of the Day. Dumb people in the news doing dumb things. I think Hannah, the producer, especially is going to love this one. And Stephanie, I think you might like it too.
Okay.
It's an odd way to make a living. There's a dude, his stage name is Mr. Methane. He gets paid. People pay him. He goes around America and does shows where the guy just passes gas on stage.
Ridiculous.
And people pay him.
That's awesome.
I'm worried about those people.
And
he wears like a superhero outfit even that you can see if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook. Wears a superhero outfit and everything.
Another tough day for Facebook. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The morning after an outage that kept people off Facebook for hours, which the social media giant blamed on network router issues. There's a hearing into deeper Facebook issues. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has more live.
Dave, Frances Haugen has identified herself as the whistleblower who leaked Facebook documents to lawmakers, regulators, and the news media. She says Facebook's own research shows that it amplifies hate, misinformation, and political unrest, but that the company hides what it knows. Now, today, she is expected to answer questions about that from lawmakers in her appearance before a Senate subcommittee on consumer protection. In a 60 Minutes interview on CBS on Sunday, she said, quote, Facebook over and over again has shown it chooses profit over safety. Now, Facebook has denied Haugen's allegations. Dave.
Tony, there were another 2,100 COVID deaths reported in the U.S. yesterday, another 169,000 cases, but new infections have declined recently. Nearly two-thirds of Americans 12 and older are fully vaccinated. More than 5 million more have had a booster shot, a third Pfizer dose. Well, now Johnson & Johnson wants to offer a second shot of its vaccine, submitting data to the FDA, asking for authorization. 3 scientists are sharing the Nobel Prize for Physics.
Japanese-American meteorologist Shukiro Manabe, German Klaus Hasselmann, and Italian Giorgio Parisi. Judges say the scientists' work includes a focus on modeling Earth's climate and reliably predicting global warming.
Fox's Simon Owen. President Biden will go to Michigan today, pushing trillions of dollars in new spending stalled in Congress. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
The plan costs nothing for the American people who make less than $400,000.
Republican Congressman Roger Williams tells Fox Business,
it's not going to be free. We're all going to pay for it. And when you raise taxes, everybody's paying for it.
America's listening to Fox News.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. Right now, it is 7:03, 57 degrees. Our current temperature here in Columbia. We are expecting today partly sunny skies, a chance of showers after 1 o'clock today. Then tonight, mostly cloudy with a low near 60. The outlook for tomorrow, showers likely and a high of 72 degrees. Good morning, everyone. A convicted Columbia triple killer is set to be executed tonight in southeast Missouri's Bonne Terre, barring intervention from the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal judge. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson rejecting Ernest Lee Johnson's clemency request. He says 3 juries have reviewed the case, recommended a death sentence. Johnson convicted of killing 3 people with a hammer at a now-closed Columbia Casey's in February 1994. That Casey's has since been torn down. It was on Ballinger Lane, not far from the Clark Lane connector. 3 victims, Mary Bratcher, Mabel Scruggs, Fred Jones, a couple of Missouri House Democrats in the U.S. House, Emmanuel Claver of Kansas City and Corey Bush, St. Louis, had called on the governor to stay the execution. Again, after 6 o'clock tonight is when it is scheduled to take place. Johnson's attorneys are asking for a stay right now from the U.S. Supreme Court. A woman accused of breaking into a Jefferson City church over the summer and then setting a cross on fire is jailed without bond this morning. She was in court yesterday. A Cole County judge describes Anne Marie Mullins as a flight risk. We don't know where she's from. We don't know her hometown because court records don't indicate where she's from. We don't know her age either. ABC 17 News reports Mullins allegedly broke into the Christian Fellowship Church on May 31st, then set the cross on fire and stole money. They used fingerprints, according to KMIZ, to ID her. Mullins arraigned on Monday via video. She has pleaded not guilty. While Missouri House Republicans hold a supermajority plus House with 113 seats. They approved the ESA school choice legislation with the bare minimum of 82 votes, and that was only after a speech on the floor from the Speaker himself, Rob Vescovo. Former Missouri Republican Party Executive Director Gene Evans tells Wake Up Columbia about 30 House Republicans voted against Phil Cristofanelli's ESA bill because of their hometown school superintendents.
The ESA bill that was passed says if a student leaves to take advantage of this program, the school will continue to receive the money they were receiving for that student from the state for another 5 years. So they're going to get money for a student that's not even there.
Under the new Missouri law, students applying for the ESA grant must live in a city with at least 30,000 residents. You can hear the full interview with former Representative Gene Evans, 939theeagle.com. More than 2,000 Columbia area residents have signed a petition. They're asking the city to appoint a committee to develop a conservation overlay to protect natural features around the Rockbridge Memorial State Park if and when they are annexed into the city. Jan Weaver testifying before Columbia City Council last night. She describes the park as an important natural, recreational, educational, and economic asset to Columbia. Supporters of that proposal say the park deserves the special protection. A reminder, Fifth Ward Councilman Matt Pitzer joins us live about 7:35 on Wake Up Columbia. And a quick note from MU Healthcare. They have announced they are no longer requiring pre-scheduled appointments for their COVID test collection site. That's in the 2000 block of West Broadway here in Columbia. That site intended to serve as MU Healthcare's primary test collection location. It offers a fast walk-in option for people that have known exposure or mild symptoms. Walk-ins are accepted weekdays starting at 8. Last patient each day will be accepted at 4:45 p.m. Again, no appointment is required at that particular facility. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you on this Tuesday morning by the folks at The Candy Factory. The Candy Factory makes fresh their secret caramel sauce for their caramel apples you can pick up today. It's The Candy Factory in downtown Columbia. Anniversary, birthday, and any day, thecandyfactory.biz. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:06. In sports, the Cardinals face the Dodgers tomorrow night. Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine in the National League wild card game. The Dodgers trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series titles since the 1998-2000 Yankees. Adam Wainwright on the mound for St. Louis tomorrow night. 17 wins, ERA of 3.05. Max Scherzer getting the call for the Dodgers. Wainwright leads the majors in complete games. Former Mizzou and Hickman star Jaden Cox earning a bronze medal. United World Wrestling Championship going on in Norway. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Lacrosse Lumber, the oldest, most reliable lumber and hardware company in the Midwest. It's 1873. Lacrosse Lumber, Grindstone in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08. Nate, thanks. Our weather brought to you this hour by Club Car Wash. Visit clubcarwash.com. Find a location near you. 57 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
708 93.9 The Eagle Traffic Check. MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Everything quiet right now. We hope it stays that way on the roads here in Columbia, mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text. 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
People lie on Facebook like we don't know them in their real life. Putting up all them pictures of the kids. The reason I do what I do. Your kids stay with your grandma. What the hell you talking about? You ain't seen them kids since last Wednesday. What did you talk about?
There's too many old people on Facebook. Can we just say that? Can we just put that out there? There's too many. Remember when it was just for us and our college friends? Now it's all, they just keep on coming. They're like the illegal aliens of the internet.
By the way, my generation, whatever generation, I think I'm Gen X. We are digital immigrants. Brian Hauswirth, did you survive the Facebook outage yesterday?
I have an account just so I can post stuff on 93.9 The Eagle. That's all I really do. I don't post anything personally. But I was able to post about 5 or 6 stories in the morning, some pretty good stories, and it worked fine. Then I tried to post another one. I think it was about Ernest Lee Johnson around maybe 11, and I couldn't get it to work. I didn't know what it was, but obviously it was a bigger problem.
I do have some local reaction. People texting regarding Facebook. Longest outage ever, and they've been in existence 2004, got popular in, 2006, 2007, something like that. Longest outage ever for Facebook. Local reaction. Stephanie, did you make it through okay?
Barely.
Barely?
I got Facebook in college, and I was one of those, you had to have an .edu address. And actually, one of my girlfriends in my sorority house, she knew someone at a university in Chicago. So first it rolled out to the elites only. And so she was able to log in through their stuff just to see it. And at that time it was just like a phone book, but we were in awe. And then pretty soon thereafter it released to Missouri universities. And so, yeah, again, no adults or anything, just university students. And it was like a phone book, no news feed or anything like that. And so I kind of grew up like it's been with me my whole life. So yeah, it was a disruption yesterday and I was sad that it was down.
I was sad it was down, too, because Instagram was also affected. So there went 2 of, like, my main sources of entertainment. So I got off work yesterday, and I didn't have anything to do.
So how did you cope?
I took a nap.
Amen. I was looking at hearing some of the comedy on the opening here. Yes, obviously there's billions of people. It's by far, there is no comparison, by far the largest social media outlet on planet Earth. Billions of people affected by it, however you want to describe affected.
It's kind of like when the power goes out at your house and you know the power is out, but you still walk into a room and you go to flip the light switch.
That's exactly right. Because I kept opening it yesterday, like hoping that it would go.
I kept opening my apps like over and over again, and I'm being like, dang it, no, it's still not working. I keep forgetting.
Grant sends a great picture if Facebook is working this morning. It is working?
It is.
Okay. Great meme. It's a picture of a clown. Me trying to post a meme onto Facebook about how Facebook is down on Facebook.
I love how anytime something like that happens, people go to Twitter to complain about it. So, like, if Snapchat goes down, I immediately go to Twitter to see if that topic is trending, to see if it's just me or if everybody else is also affected.
Mm-hmm. Billions of people affected by Facebook being down yesterday. But I was looking at hearing these comedians talking about Facebook. You know, you put your best pictures up and stuff like that. And I'm looking, the picture on my personal page, I've not posted. I share video feed from the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, which you can now watch on YouTube. You get up in the morning, should be the first thing you do. Get the TV going, pop up YouTube, and you can put Wake Up Columbia on YouTube. That way you can watch, you can get ready. The kids get some news, get some fun. Just a really convenient thing. You can now watch Wake Up Columbia on YouTube. The picture on the big picture, is that the profile pic, Stephanie, this one?
That is the cover photo.
The cover photo.
God. Yes.
That is from, I want to say, 2009 in Florida, working. So it gives you an idea of how often I'm on Facebook. I think the last personal thing I posted on Facebook, and it was actually still kind of work-related, it was September of 2020. Last time I posted anything on my...
Branden is admitting to like catfishing on Facebook. He's like, I only put photos from 10 years ago on here.
Setting a thirst trap.
Yeah, I'm trying to convince people I'm, 10 years younger than I am.
My point is that I haven't posted any pictures for 10 years. That's how much I use Facebook.
That's how much you're out of touch with the influencer marketing lifestyle.
So here's what locals are saying. Susan, her reaction. By the way, you can share your reactions. 874-9390, 874-9390. Susan, was Facebook down?
Susan.
Roger, proud to say that I did not know about Facebook outage until hearing about it on Wake Up Columbia. Gary, I love Gary's text. Gary's he's the guy who sends me all these conspiracy theory links. Like several months ago, Chicago is going to be attacked by the Russians by a submarine in the Great Lakes, and I was supposed to be dead 10 times over by now, and I'm not. Gary says, keep talking about Facebook, brainless twit. This is Wake Up Columbia, and do we know what caused? And it's really weird. The big interview from the former employee of Facebook Sunday night on 60 Minutes, and then the longest outage ever on Facebook. Do we have any solid reasoning as to what happened with Facebook?
I have not heard anything. I don't know if you have.
I haven't seen anything confirmed.
I saw a meme, so of course this is made up. It's not true, but it was a fabricated Facebook post from Mark Zuckerberg saying that he had evidence against Hillary Clinton. I can't remember what it was, but somebody posted the meme and said, "Oh, so that's what happened to Facebook. You know, you post it and the Clintons just shut it down."
You know, it's funny. So as long as Facebook was down yesterday, and if you don't want to talk about this, Hannah, it's cool. Hannah managed to still get salty because of Facebook.
Yeah.
She got mad when people were commenting lovely things on pictures she posted. What happened?
My boyfriend and I had professional pictures taken.
Are you cool talk? If you don't want to talk about it, we can move forward.
I mean, we talk about it all the time, basically. But I had posted one of the pictures that we had taken, and a bunch of people thought that it was an engagement photo, and I had to delete a bunch of comments because my family was getting confused on if I was engaged or not. So I got a little salty, yes.
And Stephanie and I, we're pretty angry about it, too.
You know, I didn't have any professional photos taken until my engagement photos. So,
did your husband ever wear a shirt that said the future Mr. Stephanie or the Mr. Stephanie Bell?
No, but we have. I mean, I've joked about getting him a shirt that says "Trophy Husband," and he's all about it. And also, the other one that my mom friends and I like to joke about is just Bell Family Equipment Manager, because when you have kids, like, he's always got a cooler, 2 chairs, you know, at the beach. He's got, you know, he just looks like he's carrying a train of just junk everywhere we go. It doesn't matter if we're like leaving for 15 minutes or, you know, the stroller, the wagon, this, you know, with little kids. And so we joke that he's the family equipment manager.
And by the way, yeah, he could be trophy husband. He's a good solid dude, and handsome too. He's a good-looking fellow. Stuart, via text 874-9390. Wait, Hannah had nothing to do yesterday because Facebook was down? She should have practiced her guitar for her next appearance on Wake Up Columbia.
I took a nap. That's what I did.
Travis, his response, his reaction, local response to what happened, worldwide story yesterday. Here's what local people are saying on 93.9 The Eagle. 47 years old, never used Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram. Welcome to the show. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Brian Hauswirth.
Good morning, sir.
There's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
Still a little salt. Do you feel better now that you've talked seriously? That you've talked about Hannah is not engaged to be married. We tease her. Let's move forward from that. Do you feel better from talking about it a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
My name is Branden Rathert. Something we can do for you, 874-9390. Guess what Joe Biden's doing today?
Snake oil salesman.
He's going to... Last set this up for us, Stephanie. Last week. Infrastructure package is in trouble.
I'm going to cancel my trip to Chicago and stay and help.
And go save the day. I'm going to put on my Superman outfit, and I'm going to fly into Washington, D.C., and I'll look down and bestow it with my goodness, and we'll get this right through.
And, yeah, so he had a bunch of personal meetings with people trying to get them on board to get that vote done by Friday, and it just ended up in a giant dumpster fire. And so the Democrats, I think, and you know, I've heard that, you know, it kind of went, you know, it was worse than even expected. And so now the Democrats are saying, you know what, Joe, why don't you take a little break? We'll handle this back here, that he was not helping them get any closer to a resolution. And so now he's stumping, you know, out in, I think, where is he going? Michigan today, on a trip, talking to the people, trying to sell it to the people. Meanwhile, the real work is being done back in D.C.
Snake oil salesman.
Going around, he's got a little horse and buggy, and hey, folks, step right up.
Snake oil salesman.
Snake oil salesman. So that's what he is doing today. City council meeting last night. There's some stuff to get into there regarding the Wabash Center and how we open up the warming centers, when we open them up. As a matter of fact, 5th Ward City Councilman Matt Pitzer joins us. 7:35, an exclusive story from RedState.com. This regards the soldier who is getting onto an airplane. Apparently, the last member of our armed services to board an Afghanistan plane as we're leaving. Apparently, there's something else to that story. You'll want to hear this 8:35, and we do want to mention in Missouri there is something big that's happening.
Oh, yeah. So you might have seen last week in the news, the feds released a report about foster care, and it was really damning about the Missouri foster care program. Said that there were 59 cases. Of the 59 cases of missing children it reviewed, 49 were identified as being higher risk, and half of the children weren't even reported as being missing. And just, basically where some things really fell through the cracks. And so this long report, you can read it online. But anyway, so the Missouri House has come together. They're going to have their hearing. I think the Families and Children Committee hearing in the House is taking place today at 10 a.m. And that hearing is solely kind of regarding the report. People will be there to testify. They're going to review the report. So we should be hearing more about the state's response to really the information that was unveiled in that report last week. So.
And we'll have a full rundown tomorrow here on 93.9 The Eagle on Wake Up Columbia. Coming up 7:25. How are we? Can we do What's Hot with Hannah with Facebook? So Facebook is up. It's running.
It's been up and running for quite a while at this point.
Since like 2004, I heard. So what's hot with Hannah today?
Got another really dumb TikTok challenge that are getting kids in trouble.
Oh, yay. That's why our listeners aren't on. Pro pumping and hydrojetting. A lot of folks kind of in flux professionally. That's why I want to tell you about a potential job opening at Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, looking for a service technician. The beauty of this job, besides working for good people that get it, hey, your job is not your number one priority in life. They understand you have family, you have other responsibilities, and they get it. So there's some leeway whenever you have to do things. Work should not be your number one priority in life. They get it. And besides decent pay, and besides, the holidays and all that good stuff, one of the biggest things that I think you would enjoy about this job, really, you're going to be helping people. You get to help folks. Septic tanks, lagoons, grease traps. As a matter of fact, you go by some of the finest restaurants and institutions here in Columbia, chances are the folks at Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting have worked with them. Learn more. Get online to their website, pro-pumping.com.
Catch Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time at 939theeagle.com.
Hannah, the producer, that's what Stuart was referring to. And Stuart said, hey, Hannah had nothing to do because Facebook was down. She could practice her guitar because we are awaiting her next appearance on Wake Up Columbia.
I need to delete that clip.
Good luck. Welcome into the show, Wake Up Columbia. I'm Branden. There is Stephanie. Fox News is coming up here in just a few minutes. Biden becomes a snake oil salesman today, trying to sell this infrastructure stuff. Facebook under fire, trying to figure out the cause of that. Trying to explain it to us like we're 2 years old.
They have issued a statement that says it was resulted from like a routing reconfiguration problem, that it was not a result of a hack or anything else. So,
Brian Hauswirth is here. Folks asking Governor Parson to spare the life of Ernest Lee Johnson. The governor's response, Brian Hauswirth has at 7:30. Right now it's 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:29.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
So we covered the Devious Licks TikTok challenge a little bit. It's basically where kids were vandalizing property at their school for TikTok challenges. The new one is Slap a Teacher challenge on TikTok. Which I don't know, even as a little kid, I feel like I would have known that that's probably not a good idea.
Man, and kids do it. And people want to blame TikTok and these social media. It's not their fault. You give them a platform, but it's not their fault.
The Connecticut Attorney General is going after TikTok for this stuff.
Be interesting to see how that turns out. I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. So it's going to be partly sunny today. There might be some spot showers later today, like likely after lunchtime. Our high up to 73. We'll see some clouds tonight. Overnight low down to 60. Then tomorrow showers are likely, high 72. Thursday, partly sunny, chance of showers, high 76. Then moving forward into the big homecoming weekend, it looks like temps in the mid-80s, about 85. Game day, Saturday, for Mizzou's homecoming game. Right now, 59. Stop by Club Car Wash, get an unlimited membership, $20 a month. Get more details, clubcarwash.com. You can also find a location nearest you at clubcarwash.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Johnson & Johnson is asking for emergency use approval for a coronavirus vaccine booster shot, claiming 100% protection against severe cases and death. More decisions on vaccines are coming.
The government is expected to approve a booster shot for the Moderna vaccine following the approval of a Pfizer booster shot last month for certain groups, including older Americans, those with underlying conditions, and healthcare workers. The FDA is also expected to decide on a Pfizer vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 by November.
Fox's Steve Harrigan. A report in France estimates 330,000 children have been sexually abused within the Catholic Church since 1950.
Jean-Marc Sauvé, the lead investigator in a commission established by Catholic bishops, said the abuse was systemic and the Church showed cruel indifference. The head of the French Bishops' Conference says he's ashamed and asks for forgiveness.
Fox's Simon Owen. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:31. Robinson saves you time. 57 right now. In Columbia, it's 56 degrees. In Jefferson City, we're expecting partly sunny skies, a chance of rain after 1 o'clock today with a high of 73. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 60. The sun trying to peek out right now. Partly cloudy skies at our studios here in South Columbia. Good morning, everyone. Barring intervention from the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal judge, a convicted Columbia triple killer will be executed tonight in southeast Missouri's Bonne Terre. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson denied a clemency request from 61-year-old Ernest Lee Johnson. He killed three people with a hammer in 1994 at a now-closed Casey's convenience store in Columbia. Those three victims, Mary Bratcher, Mabel Scruggs, Fred Jones. One of the victims also shot. Governor says 3 juries have reviewed the case, recommended a death sentence. Pope Francis has been involved in this case. The Pope had called on the governor to block the execution, citing his humanity and the sacredness of all human life. A Cole County judge says a woman who allegedly broke into a Jefferson City church over the summer and set a cross on fire is a flight risk, and he has ordered that she be jailed without bond. ABC 17 News reports Anne Marie Mullins is accused of breaking into the Christian Fellowship Church on May 31st, then stealing money and setting a cross on fire. KMIZ reports Jefferson City police found fingerprints at the scene. They sent those to the Highway Patrol's crime lab. It's unclear right now, even from online court records, how old Ms. Mullins is. We also don't know her hometown. She was in court yesterday, arraigned by video. She pleads not guilty. A former state lawmaker who now heads the Missouri Federation for Children wants state lawmakers to expand school choice. Manchester Republican Gene Evans tells 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia that education money should follow the student.
And in Missouri, our culture says you go to your local school, but it's interesting because no one thinks, oh, I can only go to the restaurant that's in my neighborhood. I can never venture out beyond this neighborhood or subdivision and go to another restaurant.
You can hear the full interview with former state representative Gene Evans with Branden, Rathert, Stephanie, and me, 93.9theeagle.com, the full interview. Columbia City Council's given the green light to Logboat Brewery's expansion plans. The council has approved multiple rezoning requests from Logboat for its facility on Fay. Logboat wants to expand its production facility and its tasting room. City staff says Logboat has sufficient surrounding utility infrastructure to support the proposed expansion. A reminder, Councilman Pitzer will join us live right after the newscast here on Wake Up Columbia. The other big issue at the council last night was the Human Rights Commission recommending that the city implement a temporary increase in the cutoff temperature for the emergency Wabash Overnight Center from 9 degrees to 18 degrees, that's Fahrenheit, for the upcoming winter. The commission chair presenting a report to the council. It says if the threshold were 18 degrees instead of 9 last winter, the center would have been available an additional 7 nights, 1 in December, 2 in January, 4 in February. And you no longer need an appointment to get a COVID test at MU Healthcare's test collection site on West Broadway here in Columbia. MU Health says walk-ins will be accepted weekdays starting at 8 a.m. The last patient accepted each day, 4:45. Need to bring a mask, wear it, and bring your insurance card if you're insured. There is no cost for the test. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by Dr. Kent Willett, Willett Dental Associates. Make an appointment now. WillettDentalAssociates.com, 573-445-5300. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:35. In sports, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers. National League wild card game. Lots of anticipation. Of course, you'll hear the game right here tomorrow evening. 93.9 The Eagle. Again, no baseball tonight. Tomorrow night, 7:10 our time at Chavez Ravine. Wainwright against Scherzer. One other quick note. Former Mizzou and Hickman star Jaden Cox earns a bronze medal at the United World Wrestling Championship. That's in Oslo, Norway. The Columbia Missourian reports Cox won the tournament's first 3 matches, then fell just short in the semifinal. He won the bronze medal match 11-0. 93.9 The Eagle Sports presented by the Callaway Bank. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
7:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Traffic check midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit midmohires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. It has been quiet this morning on the roads here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, call or text us 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Could these be parked on the Wabash parking lot, running or not running? If it's not running, the human body does produce a lot of heat in an enclosed environment as tight as this big bus. It's not very nice for me to say, but it's the idea that maybe these buses do run and they can produce heat.
So this guy's city council meeting last night, they're talking about changing how they operate the Wabash Center, which is a warming center, lowering the minimum temp at which we open it. And this guy, who, by the way, was being completely serious, saying, well, if we're taking 3 buses out of service, apparently the city's getting some newer buses. If 3 get put in the parking lot, why don't we open those up as warming centers? 5th Ward City Council member Matt Pitzer is here. Matt, the guy was serious. What do you think about that idea? Okay.
I think we'll continue to look for other options.
All right. Fifth Ward City Councilman Matt Pitzer here on 93.9 The Eagle. Before we move forward, I want to mention this real quick. The Department of Justice launching an effort to combat threats of violence against school officials. And I guess one of the things they're considering doing is we'll treat them like terrorists. State Senator Caleb Rowden responding in a fiery fashion this morning. We'll have more on that coming up at 8:10. Matt Pitzer. So the thing with the Wabash Warming Center, basically we would lower the minimum temp, and if we're going by last year's weather data, then we would have opened it, I think, like an extra 7 or 8 days, something like that. John Glasscock, city manager, brought up an interesting point last night. What would seem to be the roadblock in opening up the Wabash Center even more?
So we get, federal transit dollars to operate that because, it's the bus center. So that's actually not allowed under those federal guidelines. So we kind of were doing it, a little bit before, sort of, asking for forgiveness after the fact instead of asking permission ahead of time, kind of thing. But they indicated, if we were using it more than we were, then it could start to become a problem. And then there's also just issues with staffing and maintaining it and security. So those are some of the things.
And the cost that are involved, too, so it could interfere with federal funding. I think we were using airport security and having to pay them, and it kind of became an issue. And then we had unfortunately, people going to these warming centers, and Wabash Center won't even let them use restrooms anymore because they've destroyed restrooms in the past. I'm not saying that's indicative of all the people that go into warming centers, but that's what they go on. So
have you ever been to a park bathroom? Even, it's hard to maintain public restrooms.
So then they've had to bring in Johnny on the spots, things like that, and it's more expense. They would have to hire more people. But it sounded like ultimately people said, well, okay, let's come up with some kind of idea. And I was telling Hauswirth this morning as we were going back through the meeting, I wished I would have counted every time I heard the phrase, well, let's put together a study group. Let's put together a commission to study this. How many times did that come out? Whatever you guys were talking about. Well, let's put together a focus group. Let's do a study group. Let's put together a commission. Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of driving me crazy too. So I don't want to be part of any of those groups. It's just, that's the government in action for you, or inaction. Either way you want to look at it. So yeah, there are a couple other things, kind of zoning things and planning things that we talked about with ad hoc committees, and it gets to be a bit much for me. But at the same time, you got to look at some of these things a little bit more. So maybe there's something we can do on the warming center idea. I'm not sure. It's just it sounds like a great and wonderful service to provide. But it really becomes harder to operationalize.
I'm often frustrated by, especially local governments, I think are guilty of that. Let's put together a study group. But, really a lot of times you're just kicking the can. It can be very expensive, especially once outside consultants get involved. And then ultimately, I think, as you mentioned, you can really get to a point of, you can do this, spend all the money, and then get to some inaction. And ultimately, it just doesn't go anywhere. So I'm glad.
Yeah, and usually there's a group of advocates for whatever issue that are pushing it, and then they're the ones that sort of dominate the conversation. So it's not really what I would consider like a fair and balanced and open conversation. It's one group, just put in, kind of stacking the deck in order to drive some policy outcomes.
Yeah, and then it's hard to argue against, well, we just need to collect more information. You're kind of,
right.
The jerk if you say, no, I don't want any, we don't need more information. So.
Matt Pitzer, Fifth Ward City Councilman, talking about last night's City Council meeting. And before we move forward, I want to mention to that end, it's funny because last night I wished I could have put together like a minute-long montage of every time. Let's put together a group. Let's do a commission. Let's do an ad hoc. But starting early stages of working on something that me and another individual wants to do here in Columbia, and we met this past Friday. And first thing she said, Matt, was, let's not get the city involved because I want to study this thing to death. True story.
Councilman, we appreciate you joining us live on Wake Up Columbia. We always appreciate you joining us. Two-part question, unrelated, but both important issues. And one is the logboat expansion, because I called Logboat and actually emailed them on Friday. They told me they'd make an announcement this week, but do you have any details, A, on their expansion that was approved, the rezoning issues? I know that was non-controversial, A. And B, getting back to Brandon's question about the Wabash, there's a sentence in the Human Rights Commission's report that says, and I'm paraphrasing here, it says the permanent homeless shelter in Columbia won't materialize for a couple of years. Is that accurate? And if so, why would it take that long?
So the happier question there, the logboat expansion, yeah, we did approve that. It was a change in the zoning. I'm not sure of their timeline on when they're going forward, but they're planning a pretty significant expansion of their production capacity over there and also expanding their tasting room. So they needed some zoning changes for that, and so we went ahead with that. And certainly they've been a great partner and neighbor in their current location, and looking forward to continued success for them going forward. The homeless shelter, drop-in center, whatever we wind up calling it,
sure.
That is sort of it is in the planning stages. I don't know how long it'll take to come together. Right now there are more groups working on putting together all the different pieces to it, because there's literally probably dozens of groups that need to come together for, there's nonprofit services that are already, servicing this population. There are, it's the city, it's the county, it's, all working together to come with one comprehensive solution that can actually, operate on an ongoing basis and is sustainable. So that, I would expect that we might have, an outline of how that's going to look, in the next several months. And then in terms of a timeline for actually standing it up, we'll just have to see what that plan is.
All right, City Councilman Matt Pitzer, and then folks wanting to create some overlay areas with, in effect, basically more protections around Rockbridge State Park to protect that natural resource. The latest on that.
Yeah, there was that development proposal a few months back, and that kind of started all this. Just wanted to make sure that, protect that Rockbridge State Park, which, it is a great asset for the area. And I think we want to, I think we're all sympathetic, to sort of that idea. How do you go about doing it, and what are you really trying to accomplish? This proposal was to, stop any annexation for 18 months and stop any sort of development within the city. I'm not sure that that's the best thing to do. Currently, it's outside the city limits. So, we can come up with all kinds of overlays that we want. They're not going to apply to any area outside the city anyway. So, I'm not sure that that's the best way to go about it. I think you might even incentivize somebody to go ahead and develop it even faster, outside the city before there's this overlay district or whatever it's going to be, before that can get in place. So I'm a little skeptical of exactly what was proposed, but I think there's something that maybe we can do to reach the same end.
Well, let's get a group together and study this.
Absolutely.
But before we do that, let's get an ad hoc committee to study the feasibility of putting a group together. What do you think, Councilman?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can be the chair. You can have all your meetings at 7:30 a.m. every weekday, right?
Yeah. City Councilman Matt Pitzer, anything else that you would like to add to be of service to folks here in Columbia?
No, I think that's about it. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, as always, we appreciate you taking. I know you're busy. You're a father. You're a working man. You're a city council member, and I know you get busy. We do appreciate your time here on 93.9 The Eagle.
Absolutely. Anytime. Have a good day.
I want to defer to my my attorney friend, Stephanie Bell, Ellinger and Associates. So this happened at the city council meeting last night. By the way, Carl Scala, I got to give him some points, man. I'm deducting points. He still has not responded to 2 emails when he talked about so-and-so sent me some nasty emails with foul language and all that. I'm like, what are the foul words he used? What did he say? No response, 2 emails. I'll give him some of those points back. This ARPA money, man, this is going to be a battle. Because one of the big arguments is, well, we need to invest in people, not projects, which is it's a real liberal thing oftentimes. We need to invest in people, not projects. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But when people say we invest in people, not projects, they miss the point. And Carl Scala said last night in the city council meeting, he says, I think you've got it wrong here. Investing in projects, that is investing in people. But then this also happened. Stephanie, you know the Constitution better than I do. This is a woman. She's talking about if we do another shelter, whether it's a warming shelter or a homeless shelter, whatever it is. She's wanting to know about some of the things that might be in there.
Beds and food, or is this a place that also will have a Zen center and a place where people can have recreation and things like that? What is a person, what does it take for a person to be able to have the means to pursue happiness like it says in our Constitution?
So she wants to know, is there going to be a Zen center, for mental well-being? And I believe in mental health issues, and I believe there's some things that can be done. But so that people have a warming shelter or a homeless shelter so they can pursue happiness like it says in the Constitution.
Oh, well, importantly, the phrase the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is from the Declaration of Independence, not the Constitution. And, of course, there is no constitutional right to happiness. And so you can have opinions about what the city should and should not provide, but...
And that's why she's here. Points for Stephanie Bell. I'm nominating you for winner of the week coming up on a few.
Branden Rathert and Wake Up Columbia. Drinking upstream from the herd. Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
Beds and food, or is this a place that also will have, like, I don't know, a Zen center and a place where people can have recreation and things like that? Like, what is a person? What does it take for a person to be able to have the means to pursue happiness, like it says in our Constitution?
That would be the Declaration of Independence.
And I get it. Biden has confused those, hadn't he? You know, the thing. I'm going to make some assumptions. I'm assuming she voted for Biden. My point in playing that is not to, it's to highlight this is why people need to get involved. These are the people that are showing up at city council meetings. These are the people that are showing up at school board meetings. These are the people that show up on a lot of meetings that are taking part, and people are buying into that. That's why I encourage people, get involved, because we have somebody who doesn't know the Constitution. She wants a Zen center. She thinks government money should be utilized for homelessness.
For eradicating, I think, homelessness. To
Yeah,
address
not
homelessness.
not to promote homelessness. Hey, ARPA money, let's spend $250,000 to promote homelessness. Welcome to the show, Wake Up Columbia. I am Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer, Brian Hauswirth going to be joining us just a few minutes from now. Folks asking Governor Parson to spare the life of Ernest Lee Johnson. The governor's response, Brian Hauswirth has that at 8:03. Then Fox News, of course, they're here at 8 o'clock. Facebook under fire. Real technical stuff. The reason that we're being given for the outage yesterday.
Yeah, they released a statement that just said there were some back end, and I don't understand the back end, but, back end configuration issues. So, their own systems, I think, weren't talking to one another.
They explained to us so we don't understand. It just seems weird. After that big interview and this woman testifying after that interview, it just seems odd, but that's enough conspiracy theory stuff. This is for real. So the Department of Justice now, man, they are really starting to clamp down on American people. Department of Justice is launching an effort to combat threats of violence against school officials. The feds are getting involved. In effect, they want to treat parents, and I get it. Threatening a school official, that's one thing. That's different than going to a meeting and saying, I am adamantly against you telling my kid in the school they have to wear a mask or they have to get a vaccine. But what they're doing is they are really trying to clamp down, treating you like a terrorist. State Senator Caleb Rowden responding.
Yeah, he's firing back, and he wrote a letter to the Missouri School Boards Association, which, of course, is kind of the state subsidiary of this National School Boards Association who's pushing this thing, and says, hey, I'm aware that the National Association is trying to label parents as domestic terrorists. And he said, my question to you as a subsidiary of the NSBA is a simple one. Do you believe concerned parents in the great state of Missouri are domestic terrorists? And then he goes on, asks some more questions, and asks for a response.
I'm putting Caleb Rowden's name in for winners of the week on Friday. Do you think concerned parents are terrorists? Man. Coming up, 8:10. By the way, I have some local names. So we have a presiding county commissioner who might be running in that race, who might not be running, who's running potentially for mayor in Columbia, plus some polling regarding Missouri politicians. We'll do that at 8:10. I'm Branden Rathert for Salter Lawn Service. Salter, one call does it all. Make that one call today. Here it is. It's almost 8 o'clock. Remember this. Put it in your calendar. Do it when you get to work. Please call Salter Lawn Service for fall cleanup. Walking the MKT trail yesterday. The leaves are falling before you know it. It's going to be busy, and you're going to say, man, I got to get rid of this stuff. I want some trees trimmed, wood restacked, whatever it is. They can do that because that's what Salter Lawn Service does. That's why we say one call does it all with Salter Lawn Service. And here's why I'm saying, do yourself a favor, bud. Call them today, because it's like one morning we wake up and boom, all the leaves are on the ground and everybody's calling Salter Lawn Service. So it's just kind of some inside info here for you from our friends at Salter Lawn Service. Want to give you, since you listen to 93.9 The Eagle and Wake Up Columbia, want to give you the inside info. Call Salter.
Americans could be getting booster shots. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News as another COVID vaccine maker prepares another dose. Fox's Evan Brown has more live.
Yeah, Dave, Johnson & Johnson is now officially requesting the U.S. Food and Drug Administration authorize a booster shot of their coronavirus vaccine. Theirs is the one that required only a single initial dose, but their new data shows that people who got a second trial dose of their vaccine gained 94% immunity against moderate COVID and 100% protection against severe illness. So far, the FDA has only granted emergency authorization to Pfizer for booster doses, Dave.
Evan, COVID cases have declined recently in the U.S., though there were another 169,000 reported yesterday, another 2,100 deaths. Facebook will be on the Senate hot seat again today. A former employee turned whistleblower will testify after providing documents and alleging Facebook profits off conflict and misinformation and knows its platforms can harm some teens' mental health.
At last week's hearing, Senator Richard Blumenthal said his office conducted an experiment, signing up for an Instagram account as a 13-year-old girl. They followed extreme dieting accounts.
Within a day, its recommendations were exclusively filled with accounts that promote self-injury and eating disorders.
When Facebook's head of global safety testified last week, she said the company has multiple protections in place to create safe, age-appropriate experiences.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Facebook is back online today, blaming yesterday's hours-long outage on network router issues. President Biden will hit the road today, going to Michigan, pushing trillions in spending stalled in Congress.
I need 50 votes in the Senate. I have 48.
Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are holdouts, calling the plan too expensive. All Republicans oppose it and tax hikes to fund it. America's listening to Fox News.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03, 59 right now in Columbia, 57 degrees. In Jefferson City, we're expecting partly sunny skies today, a high of 73. There is a chance of showers in the afternoon. Tonight, cloudy skies at a low near 60 degrees. Good morning, everyone. A convicted Columbia triple killer is set to be executed tonight in southeast Missouri's Bonne Terre, barring intervention from the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal judge or the Eighth Circuit. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson rejecting Ernest Lee Johnson's clemency request, saying 3 juries have reviewed the case and recommended a death sentence. Johnson convicted of killing 3 people with a hammer at a now-closed Columbia Casey's in February 1994. Those 3 victims, Mary Bratcher, Mabel Scruggs, and Fred Jones. 2 Missouri House Democrats in the U.S. House, Emmanuel Cleaver of Kansas City and Corey Bush of St. Louis, both called on the governor to stay the execution. We have much more on this story, including the concerns Pope Francis has. He has issued a letter to the governor. We include some of that detail as well. 93.9theeagle.com. We also have the governor's full statement up as well. A woman accused of breaking into a Jefferson City church this summer and setting a cross on fire is jailed without bond this morning. A Cole County judge describes the suspect, Anna Marie Mullins, as a flight risk. ABC 17 News reports Mullins allegedly broke into the Christian Fellowship Church in Jefferson City on May 31st, then stole money and set the cross on fire. Mullins was arraigned on Monday via video. She has pleaded not guilty. Columbia's Human Rights Commission wants the city to implement a temporary increase in the cutoff temperature for the emergency Wabash Overnight Center from 9 degrees Fahrenheit to 18 degrees.
The commission presented a report to the Columbia City Council last night saying the modest increase is warranted to respect the dignity of our fellow citizens who live without permanent shelter. The commission also says a permanent homeless shelter will not happen for another few years. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Don, thank you. Meantime, more than 2,000 Columbia area residents have signed that petition that Councilman Pitzer talked about. That petition asked the city to appoint a committee to develop a conservation overlay to protect natural features around the Rockbridge Memorial State Park, if and when they are annexed into the city. Jan Weaver testifying before Columbia City Council last night. She describes the park as an important natural, recreational, educational, and economic asset to Columbia. Supporters of the proposal say the park deserves the special protection. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this morning by the Callaway Bank. The Callaway Bank is with you for the moments that matter. 93.9 The Eagle News time is 8:05. In sports, we'll start with baseball. The Cardinals face the Dodgers tomorrow night at Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine. National League wild card game. Dodgers trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series titles since the 1998 to 2000 Yankees. Adam Wainwright pitching for St. Louis. 17 wins, an ERA of 3.05. He leads the major leagues in complete games. Former Mizzou and Hickman star Jaden Cox earning a bronze medal at the United World Wrestling Championship. That is in Norway. The Columbia Missourian reporting Cox won the tournament's first 3 matches. Fell just short in the semifinal. He won the bronze medal match 11-0. 93.9 The Eagle Sports brought to you by Woods Basement Systems, the most reviewed contractor for all things with your basement. For a free estimate, 800-388-9326. 93.9 The Eagle News time is 8:06. All right, Nate, great job this morning. And our weather presented by Club Car Wash. ClubCarWash.com. Find a location near you. 59 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
807 traffic check. MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job. Post your job opening today. It's been a quiet morning on the roads. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text. 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
We're asking that the governor grant him clemency and let him finish out his natural life in prison.
Our ask is for commutation to life without parole. So we're not saying that he's not culpable for the murders that happened in 1994. We're very sad for those losses, and we understand it impacted the community in Columbia and the whole state very, very gravely.
Governor Parsons' response to that is like, listen, we've had 6 different courts that have said, nope, we're going to go forward with this. I am going to go forward with this. He was convicted by a jury of his peers. This was the sentence. I'm going to carry out this lawfully submitted sentence. As a matter of fact, he details in an email that he sent to us, says, Mr. Johnson's claim that he is not competent to be executed has been reviewed and rejected by a jury in the courts 6 different times. He's received due process under the laws in the state trial court, Missouri Supreme Court, Federal District Court, 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, and the United States Supreme Court. I have no moral qualms with the death penalty. I think we should really rethink this and get rid of it for financial reasons, it is far cheaper. It is exceedingly cheaper to keep somebody housed in prison for the rest of their lives as opposed to putting them on death row. Far cheaper. I have no moral qualms with it. And I wonder, I don't know, and it's an ugly position I try to put myself in, but I think, let's say, somebody murdered my family member and 3 others in a gas station attack with hammers and screwdrivers. If they killed my mom or my dad or my sister or my son or any of my grandkids, beat them to death with a hammer, and then shoved screwdrivers into their bodies to the point they bled out and died and left laying at a gas station in the middle of the night. Would I feel better knowing that person responsible for doing that, would I feel better knowing that they've been executed? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I would think that most of my solace would just come in the fact they were found guilty. They'll be in, I think I would rather they be in prison for the rest of their lives, because I think that's far. If I ever went to death row for anything, send me right to the chair, put me on the table, inject that stuff, whatever you got to do. I don't want to be in prison. Put me right to death row. I'll take it. Do not pass go. I'm not collecting $200. I'd go. That's me. I wouldn't want to live in prison. That's not a life. That's hell. But for financial reasons, let's rethink how we do this. But I'm wondering, so all these courts, you've got the NAACP, you've got people, you've got citizens. Governor Parson, come on, man. Just commute the sentence. Don't make it a death penalty. Just let him spend the rest of his years behind bars. And then you get a letter from the Pope. How do you respond to the Pope? I mean, the Pope sends you a letter. The governor, G57, sends Governor Parson a letter, and I don't know what was in the letter. I'm guessing it was, Dear Governor Parson, I respectfully request that you show mercy and grace on this man. And do you respond to that? Do you write a letter back to the Pope?
I mean, I think the governor's statement was right on. We live in America. We have this system. This system has played out under the existing rules, and that's what we expect. That's what we expect. We should be able to have faith in our own systems and our own institutions, and he clearly does, and says, hey, he's exhausted all the options. Every court's looked at it. A jury of his peers has looked at this multiple times. I mean, you read part of the statement, and I think, that's what we that's what we have to respect.
The other thing about the letter from the Pope, it was actually from the Pope's personal representative, and he's not saying anything about He basically tells the governor, the personal representative, he really praises Missouri for some of the pro-life issues about abortion. But he said on this issue, they're talking about humanity, Mr. Johnson's humanity, and didn't say anything about him being innocent. So he asked him to step in. The only other thing, and a lot of media have not pointed out, we actually have seen a pope step in one other time in recent memory, and that was back in 1999. A triple killer named Daryl Meese. It was back at the Trans World Dome, is how long ago. I actually covered Pope John Paul when he spoke in St. Louis. He had a private meeting after the speech, and some of our listeners will remember this. The governor met with Pope John Paul, and the governor, according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which wasn't in the room, someone from the Vatican obviously let the Post know. Post reported accurately. The Pope leaned over and said to Governor Carnahan, quote, "Have mercy on Mr. Meese." And the Governor Carnahan, was a strong supporter of the death penalty. He issued a commutation, basically commuted Meese's sentence to life in prison without parole, and blocked that death sentence. That was kind of controversial at the time for people who remember it. And Daryl Meese wasn't really appreciative of it. When he was interviewed about it a couple of years later, I saw him do a TV interview, and he didn't seem appreciative at all. I was surprised by that.
I don't know if any of our popes have a good sense of humor, but if I'm there and the Pope whispers into my ear, "Have mercy on this man," you mean like the mercy he showed to those 3 people at the gas station? Do you say that to the Pope? Does he go, "Oh, yeah, you're right"? 874-9390, 874-9390. My response is from Dusty. My response to the Pope would be, I broke one of Hannah's cardinal rules.
Would be no comment.
Go pound sand. Stewart, I agree with Branden on the death penalty. The goal is punishment. Life in prison would be hell. The death sentence is an easy way out. Randy Stevens says, no way, fry his ass. Well, he's going to be probably executed tonight. And again, I don't know, does the family, do they get solace in that knowing this guy is dead? I don't know. But I really think it needs to be rethought in the future. If we're all about trying to be more fiscally conservative, do away with the death penalty. It's put them on death row for the rest of their lives. Put them in prison for the rest of their lives. It's far cheaper. You want to get even darker? Anybody been paying attention to what's been happening in Lebanon, Missouri?
Yes.
Yes, you want to get darker?
Or
yes, you know this story.
Well, and I'm being very careful how we report it because a lot of it is based on rumors, but I did do a voicer for our Springfield station today and been working closely with Don Luzader. Just a lot of it is speculation right now, so we'll see. I think we'll have more when there's a court appearance today with the two suspects. But some of the stuff that's being out there on suggested is just absolutely unbelievable. It's
gruesome. I sent it to Branden and I said, "Is this real?" I mean, it was hard to believe, and as you said, some of it is speculation at this point, but it was.
So let me cite a news source in case you haven't heard the story. This is from CBS 17. I don't know. They're out of Carolina, even reporting on this story.
National story now.
National story, verbatim. Citing them as bizarre rumors of cannibalistic behavior and multiple murder victims flooded social media Saturday. Authorities confirmed little about a missing woman and two suspects now under arrest in south central Missouri. Feds ramping up their search for 33-year-old Cassidy Rainwater. Authorities say two men held her in a cage in Lebanon. And it's some of the rumors that they talk about in this story. 2 weeks ago, FBI investigators from KC got a tip that somebody was holding this young lady in a cage. Authorities arrested two guys, Timothy Norton and James Phelps. Prosecutors charged two men with felony kidnapping. Court documents said investigators found photos on Phelps' cell phone showing a woman partially nude and in a cage. So they find a picture on one of the dudes' cell phones. Woman partially nude in a cage. Investigators said Norton admitted he helped Phelps to help restrain Rainwater. Beyond the photos, investigators not disclosing what they found on the Phelps property. But some of the rumors are out there. Reminds me of the movie Silence of the Lambs. And I'll leave it at that. 874-9390. Thomas, welcome into the show. What's on your mind this morning?
I was calling about the whole, the guy that's getting ready to get fried tonight.
Ernest Lee Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And you had said that it's cheaper to let them live.
Yeah.
It's actually around, last time I checked, it was around $30,000 a year per inmate to keep them in the system.
Yeah.
Because I'm a former correctional officer. And people don't realize exactly how good these guys have it inside of prison. They have cable TV, they've got gyms, they've got weight rooms, they've got all kind of stuff that people are struggling to try to get. And it is not better to let them live. I say let him fry.
And thank you. Studies throughout, and I took a great interest in this topic in 2009 in Florida, and I was shocked. My opinion evolved on this, and to this day, I'm looking at a study right now. It's a fallacy that executions are cheaper, so it's $30,000 a year to keep a prisoner. But here's the thing: you got to consider the whole cost. Appeals. This has been to court 6 times. Far outweighs pretty much every conventional study that you will find says it is far cheaper to keep them in prison for the rest of their lives as opposed to execution. Now, I have no moral qualms with it. Hey, if you're sane enough to kill 3 people, and I don't buy this whole, well, they're mentally unstable. St. Louis Post-Dispatch, boy, they drew my ire this morning. Here's a headline from the Post-Dispatch. Kurt Erickson. Parson won't stop execution of intellectually disabled Missouri man. I want to put that up in case you're watching on YouTube or on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. Hannah, can you zoom in on that, please? Headline from the Post-Dispatch: Parson won't stop execution of intellectually disabled Missouri man. I think that headline very disingenuous. Parson, how about this? Yeah. Parson won't stop execution of guy who brutally beat to death 3 people. So, Thomas, thank you so much. We appreciate the phone call, and we appreciate you listening to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
Thanks, Brandon. Have a good one.
All right, you too. We do appreciate you, bud. Do we have time to go pole dancing now? It was awfully dark. Sorry, that's some of the news. And there is a lot happening today. City Council meeting. Logboat Brewery is going to expand. Joe Biden, he's going to be out today. Basically,
snake oil salesman.
He's a snake oil salesman he's going to Michigan. Where's he going today?
I think Michigan.
Going to Michigan, and he's trying to sell this. And I don't understand this whole thing. If you need 50 senators, and that's what he said yesterday as I'm watching his speech. I don't need 50 senators. We got 48. I don't know why he's going to Michigan.
So he is going to Michigan. He is going to Representative Elise Slotkin's district. And apparently she is one of the moderates who, while she supports the $1 trillion infrastructure bill, she has been kind of pushing back a little bit on this $3.5 trillion spending package. And she said, hey, I don't know why they decided to tie these two issues together in the first place. Quote, that's not how we normally operate. And so he's in her district kind of, trying to talk to the people, trying to go out to more moderate districts and explain, hey, we need this big, huge spending package to build back America better or something.
Reshape. And they're using that word reshape, reform America. It's just, it's not good. Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer, Brian Hauswirth. My name is Branden Rathert. I really want to, I want to highlight some of these poll numbers, Missouri poll numbers regarding favorability ratings for Governor Parson, Mr. Trump, Eric Greitens. When you saw, and we might have to push this off to 8:50 if everybody's cool with that, because I'm running behind. Were you surprised when you saw, according to this poll, the favorability ratings for Eric Greitens? Were you surprised?
Yes. Based on the other numbers in the poll, yes.
All right. I was like, I was kind of surprised. We'll have that coming up at 8:50. Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie can give you. Coming up at 8:25-ish. What do you have for us this morning?
We have an update of, remember when we talked about that Nirvana album? There's a guy, the baby that was on the cover was suing.
Iconic album cover, Iconic's Nevermind. Basically the album that ushered in grunge rock, the alternative movement.
So Dave Grohl reacts. What was his reaction?
It's coming up 8:25. Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell on 93. Missouri Better Business Bureau. And I know because they've done such a good job over the years, a lot of people still think Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau. That's where you go when you have complaints. That is not completely true. They do a lot of other things, business profiles. And the thing that I like the most, besides, they have a scam tracker. You can get on, see where scams are happening to a zip code. You can see if scams have been reported in your neighborhood. But what I really like is they have business profiles. So you can get on there and you can see profiles. Let's say you're, I don't know, want to get some fencing for the yard. You're tired of the kids running around. You want to keep them fenced in. You can get onto the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau website, bbb.org, and find business profiles like on fencing companies or just about anything. So that is a lot of what the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau does. They help you, the consumer. You can learn more by getting onto their website, bbb.org.
This is the award-winning Wake Up Columbia on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle. It's time for the opening bell with Stephanie Bell on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
So it was reported, I think now more than a month ago, that the baby on the front of their Nirvana album was suing because, I don't know.
It was a naked baby. Remember, it was the album was Nevermind. Iconic album cover and iconic legendary album ushered in grunge, ushered in Seattle grunge. And on the cover, it was a little baby, a little naked baby. I don't know how old the baby, 18 months. I don't know how old the baby was, 6 months old. But the baby is swimming for $1 that's out of reach. Iconic album cover. This guy, who is now 30?
Yeah, says he suffered permanent harm due to his involvement with the album, even though he's made money off of the fact. So now Dave Grohl comes out and says, I think there's much more to look forward to and much more to life than getting bogged down in those kinds of things. And just saying, let the past be in the past. And also, but interestingly, I guess the album is upcoming. It's going to get re-released. It's its 30th anniversary. And so Grohl is saying, I've got ideas to see, for altering the album cover on the re-release. I wonder how people will take that. Will they not like, if they do alter it, will people be like, ooh, I don't like that, but
it's not the album cover. It's not the. That's interesting.
And I think Grohl would say the same thing. Guys, we've got bigger problems than to worry about whether we alter the album cover.
I am nominating Dave Grohl as one of our winners of the week. Also, Caleb Branden, Department of Justice, in effect, saying if you get out of line at school board meetings as deemed by us, we're going to crack down on you like you are a terrorist. Caleb Branden firing off a letter with a very poignant question.
Yeah, the National School Boards Association was basically the ones pushing for it. And so now he's written a letter to the Missouri School Boards Association and said, hey, do you agree with these nationals? Do you think concerned parents are domestic terrorists? Yes or no?
Caleb Branden, state senator, is actually going to be joining us on the show tomorrow morning, 7:35. Also talk about his future ambitions. ABC 17 store. Oh, by the way, and I have some local names who might be running or who is not running for Boone County presiding commissioner and a name potentially running for mayor. Partly sunny today, according to your ABC 17 storm track forecast. Maybe some showers later today. High 73, some clouds, 60 tonight. Showers tomorrow, 72. Thursday, chance of showers, 76. Moving into homecoming weekend, temps going to be in the mid-80s right now, 60. Stop by Club Car Wash. Get an unlimited membership, unlimited, $20 a month. There's more details you can find at clubcarwash.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. A Facebook whistleblower, Frances Haugen, testifies this morning at a Senate hearing about protecting kids online.
She identified herself as the whistleblower who leaked Facebook documents to lawmakers, regulators, and the news media, and says Facebook's own research shows that it amplifies hate, misinformation, and political unrest, but that the company hides what it knows. Facebook has denied Haugen's allegations and said the company continues to tackle the spread of misinformation and harmful content.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. 3 scientists share the Nobel Prize in Physics.
Japanese-American meteorologist Sukiro Manabe, German Klaus Hasselmann, and Italian Giorgio Parisi. The scientists' work includes a focus on modelling Earth's climate and reliably predicting global warming.
Fox's Simon Owen. One winning $699 million Powerball ticket is sold in Morro Bay, California. It's the 7th largest jackpot in U.S. lottery history. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:31. Robinson saves you time. It's 59 degrees right now in Columbia, 58 degrees in Jefferson City. We're expecting cloudy skies throughout the day. Chance of rain and a high of 73, mostly cloudy tonight, and a low near 60 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Barring intervention from the courts, the U.S. Supreme Court, a federal judge, or the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, a convicted Columbia triple killer will be executed tonight in southeast Missouri Missouri's bond tear. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson has denied a clemency request from 61-year-old Ernest Lee Johnson. He used a hammer to kill 3 people in 1994 at a now-closed Casey's convenience store. The 3 victims, Mary Bratcher, Mabel Scruggs, Fred Jones. One of the victims was also shot. The governor says 3 juries have reviewed Johnson's case. They've all recommended a death sentence. Pope Francis had called on the governor to block the execution, citing his humanity and the sacredness of all human life. Also calling for the governor to block the execution 2 Democratic members of Missouri's congressional delegation, Emmanuel Cleaver of Kansas City, Corey Bush, St. Louis. A Cole County judge says a woman who allegedly broke into a Jefferson City church this summer and set a cross on fire is a flight risk. He has ordered her to be jailed without bond. She is Anne Marie Mullins. ABC 17 News reports she's accused of breaking into the Christian Fellowship Church on May 31st. She was in court yesterday. She has pleaded not guilty. A former state lawmaker who now heads the Missouri Federation for Children wants state lawmakers to expand school choice. Manchester Republican Gene Evans tells 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia that education money should follow the student.
And in Missouri, our culture says you go to your local school, but it's interesting because no one thinks, oh, I can only go to the restaurant that's in my neighborhood. I can never venture out beyond this neighborhood or subdivision and go to another restaurant.
She says that students should be able to use the money for whatever works for them, whether it's homeschooling, private school, or a public school of their choice. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson signing legislation this year creating a $25 million ESA program. To be eligible, students have to live in a city with at least 30,000 residents. The bill sponsor there, Phil Cristofanelli, St. Peter's. Columbia City Council gives the green light to Logboat Brewery's expansion plans. The council approving multiple rezoning requests from Logboat for its facility on Fay. City staff says Logboat has sufficient surrounding utility infrastructure to support the proposed expansion. Councilman Matt Pitzer joined us live last hour on Wake Up Columbia. He says they've been a great corporate citizen. He voted in favor of the rezoning requests and the rezoning issues that went before council last night. And you no longer need an appointment to get a COVID test at MU Healthcare's test collection site on West Broadway here in Columbia. MU Health says walk-ins will be accepted weekdays starting at 8 a.m. Last patient each day accepted 4:45. Have to wear a mask and bring your insurance card if you're insured. There is no cost for the test. 93.9 The Eagle News brought to you live by Hemi Construction. Homes and lots in the southwest neighborhoods of Chapel Hill Meadows, Nursery Heights, and Creek's Edge. 93.9 The Eagle News time, 8:34. Turning our attention now to sports, former Mizzou and Hickman star Jaden Cox earning a bronze medal at the United World Wrestling Championship in Oslo, Norway. Columbia Missourian reporting Cox won the tournament's first 3 matches, then fell just short in the semifinal. He won the bronze medal match 11-0. And a quick reminder for Cardinal fans out there is no baseball game for the Cardinals today. The wild card game for the National League playoffs, Cardinals and the Dodgers, will be tomorrow night, 7:10. You'll hear it live right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Adam Wainwright taking on Scherzer in the game. 93.9 The Eagle News time, 8:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit midmohires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. It's been quiet on the roads this morning. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Some exclusive from RedState.com. Our good friend Christopher Arps, ChristopherArps.com. He writes for Red State, kind of gave us tips. Said, hey, I've got a colleague here who's written a pretty spectacular story. And so I went and checked it out. I'm like, that's interesting. So you may not remember the name, Major General Christopher Donahue, but remember the photo. As a matter of fact, Stephanie and I, the morning after it happened, he was the photo, basically last member of the armed services to board a flight home from Afghanistan. It's kind of like night vision goggles photograph. And
it's one of those photos that you're going to remember for a long time.
Like the naked baby in the swimming pool on the cover of Nirvana's album.
Maybe.
Like that.
Like that.
But there might be something else to this. So I want to bring in our guest who has come up with this exclusive report. Her name is Jennifer Van Laar. She is with redstate.com. Jennifer, thanks for getting up early with us. I know you're in California. Before we get into this stunning story, we're talking about somebody who is enlisted military, who served our country valiantly as a major general in the United States Army. I'll ask this way first. You got all your ducks in a row here?
Yes.
All right. Everything is factual.
It's triple sourced.
Triple forced. What's the story regarding this Major General Christopher Donahue?
So on the last day that we were in Kabul, which was August 30th, of course, it was chaos there, getting the people out that needed to get out and making sure that we disabled as much equipment as possible. That this Major General had between 50 and 100 evacuees taken off one of the C-17s so that a Taliban-operated Toyota truck with a Russian anti-aircraft gun in the back, we're familiar with, all of us know what that image looks like. We've seen it throughout the whole 20 years that we've been in Afghanistan, could be loaded onto the C-17 to take back to Fort Bragg to put in a museum as a symbol of our mission completion in Kabul.
So so he did this on his own, or was this on orders?
It was not on orders. He was the one in charge there, completely in charge. I heard from a colonel that was stateside helping to oversee all of this after the piece was published, and he's given me some conflicting information on it. Apparently, we seized this vehicle on August 17th, identified that we wanted to bring it back for some unknown reason, because I don't know. I lived near Fort Bragg for 20 years. I don't know any paratrooper that would want that hunk of junk there to remind them, but that's kind of beside the point a little bit. On August 24th, we identified it, and then for some reason, until they waited till the last 5 flights to load it onto a plane and displace these people that were people that worked for the Department of Defense or State Department, that were Afghans that obviously would be in danger if they're not evacuated, and that he gave them all the full biometric information and a manifest of these passengers to the Taliban so that they would know exactly who they are and how to positively identify them.
Our guest, Jennifer Van Laar, she has written a very stunning story, redstate.com, regarding this Major General in the Army, the iconic photo already from just over a month ago, last service member to board a flight out of Afghanistan. So, in other words, to bring on this piece of junk, so he was in charge, he was giving the orders. Since then, you're hearing potentially conflicting reports, like maybe he got the call, stateside said, hey, bring this home. But meanwhile, this guy had to take people off of the airplane, or people weren't allowed to get on? I mean, physically, people had to get off to make room for this?
That is what I am told, that they were on the plane and they were told to get off. And then once the vehicle was loaded, there wasn't enough room for everyone to get back on. And since it was the last 5 flights, there just wasn't room, period. And I'm assuming that you tried to speak to the Major General and other folks to find out, like, hey, is this par for the course? Does this happen? Do you realize that we pulled people off those flights to fit this piece of junk vehicle on there? What's the response you get when you do your due diligence in this story? Well, because of the way this story is, and we've seen how people that are calling out their upper command in the military right now are being treated. I had government sources that confirmed it for me before we published. Okay. And to keep these people safe, we did not contact Donahue before. But that's where I've spoken with people since it's been posted.
And we saw, and I'm guessing is what you're referencing, we're talking about the guy who served our country for a lot of years, and then he put out video, I think like a month ago when this stuff was going bad, calling out his leadership. That guy's sitting in the brig still this morning, and we don't know about his future. Again, this is somebody we highlighted. There's somebody that's saying, listen, he's calling out leadership. And when it's military, especially around, and We say it around here, especially around here. We say that everywhere I've lived, Jennifer, whether it's Boise, Pensacola, St. Louis, Montana, especially around here, we really care about our service members and military. We say that everywhere I've lived. I can imagine you've got to tread delicately here when you're making an accusation that you say has been triple checked, backed up by government sources, that this guy took people off an airplane, kept people off an air to put on this hunk of junk.
Right. And there were videos taken while it was being loaded onto the C-17 that I have transcripts of what was said. Some of that is in the piece. And since my piece has been published, there's been a complaint filed with the Armed Services Committee in Congress from these whistleblowers to get more action on this and people looking into it.
So that is one of the big points of journalism. Mission accomplished, Jennifer. And I think, and to me, that's one of the big, and I'm glad you got to that, because one of the big parts of the story, and again, we prefaced it by, you got your ducks in a row? Yep, triple source, triple checked, we are good to go, because when you start making allegations like this against a U.S. Army Major General, there's automatic backlash before people know the facts. It appears you have presented the facts. And now people are saying, hey, because of the work that this journalist, Jennifer Van Laar, has done, we want more info. So from what you know, what could potentially happen next?
There's a lot of options. Yeah. Hopefully what will happen in a just world, which we're not too sure we have these days, that there will be a full investigation into this. There were hundreds of people on this airfield, so there are people who did know what happened. In addition, we left these CRAM $15 million systems there, the anti-mortar, anti-rocket defense systems that had just protected the airport earlier that day. We left them there on the airport property, and there's conflicting reports on whether they were actually disabled or not. So the Taliban could very likely have those working anti-mortar systems and the technology within them that would be terrible for our defense if that gets out. But yeah, I've had backlash where they're trying to kill the story. So
Really?
Hopefully that's not what happens.
So who's trying to silence you? Who's trying to squelch you?
People within the Army.
Wow, that is crazy. Well, listen, go to redstate.com, redstate.com. It's a site we talk about all the time because our friend Christopher Arps writes for them. As a matter of fact, he's got a piece up there. But it's a piece from Jennifer Van Laar, redstate.com. It's a story about U.S. Army Major General Christopher Donahue apparently taking a piece of junk vehicle onto a C-17 transport plane while people apparently left on the runway. Anything else you need to add that I did not get you into? And I'm glad you brought up the point of journalism. That is the job of journalists, the fourth estate. That's what we do. And this sounds like right now it's a great example. Anything else you need to add?
No, not to that story, except there will be more coming out based on this report to Congress, and I'll make sure that I let you guys know when it's posted at Red State.
Please do. Jennifer Van Laar, redstate.com. Thanks for getting up early with us this morning here, 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live. All right, coming up, we've got some polling done on a statewide basis on favorability ratings for G57, for Mr. Trump, for Mr. Eric Greitens. And then this was also interesting in a separate question asked specifically of lobbyists, Missouri politician going places. It's a name you'll recognize. And in fact, I guess that got the highest percentage of the vote. We'll get into that coming up at 8:50 on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Good morning.
Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle and Wake Up Columbia. Listener discretion advised.
Not possible at the Wabash, and the reason is I'm violating the federal request that we not use it for that now at 9 degrees. So additional staffing and additional days would probably set them to maybe risking our federal funds, and so I would ask that we study this first before we move forward. Also, we don't let them use the bathrooms because last year they destroyed our bathrooms and we had to redo them. The people that use the Wabash are people and citizens that can't go anywhere else.
City Manager John Glasscock, last night's City Council meeting, he was saying, hey, we need to open up the Wabash Warming Center for even more days. So and basically say, hey, whenever the temp gets, I think it's 9 degrees. Whenever it gets to 9 degrees, we open up the warming center. And is what the idea is, well, let's change that minimum temp to 18. And Manager John Glasscock, City Manager John Glasscock saying, well, we can't. We're in violation. We could lose federal funding. And well, how come? Well, we have to pay people to staff it. We have to bring in extra security. And then we have to pay for things like last year, they destroyed bathrooms. So now Wabash won't let us use the bathroom. So now we've got to bring in Johnny on the spot. It's expensive proposition. And and I get it. Listen, it's not to say that we are heartless. I've shared oftentimes. I did a documentary on homelessness that won a pretty prestigious award. So I'm very connected to what happens when it comes to homelessness and why people oftentimes, not all the time, why they often choose to be homeless. And there is a lot of that element, as within anything else in life. There is that element. Okay, so there's a reason they're homeless. They have other issues. A lot of times it is mental health, and I'm not opposed to trying to offer some help for people that want help with mental health. So understand, it's not about being heartless. Too often we try to use frothy emotional appeal to appeal. Well, but they're homeless, and I get it. And that's why there are private organizations that help people. And what I tell people, well, if it's that important, you open up your home. If you go into a city council meeting and say, well, we should do something, we should not allocate a whole lot of government taxpayer money to it. We, being the community, if it's that near and dear to you, why don't you open up your private home and you pay for a food for a meal for a night? Why don't you bring them into your home and allow them to sleep there? You do it. And again, don't misunderstand. It's not being heartless. The reality, these things cost money. And so much of this is just, they think that this money is just endless. And under the current administration, you could see why they think that. All right, let's go pole dancing. Some numbers recently as they relate to Missouri politicians, including Governor Mike Parson, former Governor Eric Greitens. Some poll numbers talking about favorability ratings. And as we look at these, they are generally... All right, here we go. What is your opinion of Mike Parson? 61%, according to this poll, say favorable. This was a poll that was conducted towards the latter part of September. It's 800-plus Republican primary voters. So for what polls are worth, listen, we can talk about the weighting and all that. Here's the number of people for what polls are worth. What is your opinion of Donald Trump? Favorable, unfavorable, no opinion. 83% of the 800-plus people taking part in this poll, 800-plus Republican voters, 83% have a favorable opinion of Donald Trump. And then this one, in the 2022 U.S. Senate race, what is your opinion of Eric Greitens? Favorable opinion out of 800-plus Republican voters. 34% said they have a favorable opinion of Eric Greitens. Unfavorable, 40%. 40% of the 800-plus Republican voters, 40% said they have an unfavorable opinion of Eric Greitens. Now, on a different question, I thought this was interesting. Lobbyist asked, which state senator is most likely to be in higher office in January 2023? Which state senator most likely to be in higher office in January of 2023? Asked of lobbyists, number one on the list, State Senator Caleb Rowden. A lot of talk potentially he might run for Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler's seat. He is going to be joining us. Caleb Rowden joins us on the show tomorrow morning here on 93.9 The Eagle. Now, taking a little closer look in the mirror here in Boone County. We know Presiding Commissioner Dan Atwill not going to run for re-election. A name that was out there, he had been asked, and it says no because he loves what he's doing. And I agree with this guy. He is right where he is supposed to be. Because I had asked him, I'm like, hey, have you been asked about this? And he's like, yeah, I have. And he says, I thought about it, and no. Boone County Sheriff Dwayne Carey says he doesn't want to do it. He's not interested. He loves the work that he does. He loves the people that he works